Previously on Kawaii-Fi Quest. This might take a while. He's still going.
Now I know what it's like to be in a Dragon Ball episode.
I mean, on the bright side, the beast seems to be really distracted by his charging up.
Kenny, can you just do it already?
Oh, okay.
Bread! Did he just fire a loaf of bread at it?
Bread.
Yes.
Take
Yes,
that.
he did.
Take that whole meal.
But it looks like it's working. The beast has calmed down.
He's playing catch with it.
Catch the sourdough. Catch some.
Why don't you give it a shot? You are a hunter after all.
To be honest,
Mouse.
I think I've lost my will to fight after seeing this. I'm heading back to the inn.
Hold on, wait, we'll come with you. Pistol Pete! Come on!
Have some bread. Bring it back. Come on. And fetch the bread. That was a baguette. You want some more bread?
It's over 9,000!
Configure the language logic interface for Japanese.
Kawaii-Fi. Kawaii-Fi.
Konnichiwa and welcome to a new episode of Kawaii-Fi Radio, the podcast where we look in the world of anime and manga and all things Japanese. I'm your host Kyle, and joining me are my co-hosts Coco and Kenny. How you doing, guys?
G'day!
Now, we've got a pretty chockers show because it is season in review time. But on that note, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift had a rather interesting social media post.
Yeah, it was fantastic. We found it earlier this morning. Was it the writer and director appearing with a Japanese YouTuber?
Author Yabako Sandrovich and anime director Seiji Kishi appeared in a video with Japanese muscle YouTuber Koala Koarashi. And that is literally his name.
Does that mean that he gives real nice hugs?
I'm guessing that's what it's meant to be.
I hope so.
And it was literally to see how many dumbbells they could lift. Seiji, the anime director, is utterly ripped. And it turns out that 18 months ago, he's put a photo up on Twitter. He was quite flabby and all that. He's now doing bodybuilding competitions.
Yeah, the guy is ripped.
It's insane. We've posted it on our YouTube, on our Facebook page, and you should have a look because it's actually pretty funny. I mean, there's no subtitles, but
Look, I mean, as far as if he's going to be making an anime about fitness and getting fit and, becoming ripped and muscular, you'd kind of expect him to practice what he preaches.
You'd hope.
you'd hope so. Same with the writer. I mean, the writer can't lift as much as the director.
Not as many dumbbells?
Not as many dumbbells, but he is still pretty well, built. So which is good to see.
That's good.
So on that note, though, there's another show which had a few specials which we only managed to track down recently, and it made
so
Coco
lovely.
very, very happy.
Well,
Yuri Camp
There's
came out with
extras.
more stuff.
I thought we had to wait for January until the new stuff.
But no, we didn't. It's out now.
So we got hold of the Blu-rays, and the Blu-rays have 3 special episodes on them.
Ah,
And
Lovely.
yeah, they're only about 5 to 10 minutes each a pop, but it's very similar to what we're going to be expecting in January with Room Camp, which is short form.
I'm
Hey.
getting those off you after the show, right?
Yeah, I'll lend you the bits.
They just make you they just wrap you in a cocoon again. It's that same camping cocoon, and you just feel lovely.
You just want to go camping in Japan in the winter.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's like the new series is great and all that, but I don't know if they're not going out to all those like exceptionally beautiful places and chilling out with, a campfire and food
Do
cooked
you
on a
reckon?
campfire. I feel like it'll detract
Do
from
you
it somehow.
reckon it'll be like they'll go to different islands, or it'll be summer camping and
I
real
actually,
focus on summer?
I'm going to disappoint you, as it's a short form anime and probably running for about 4 minutes a pop. It's going to be little gags inside their room, their
Oh, well.
club room.
I'll take
but
whatever I can get.
Well, there is meant to be a second season coming, so we don't know when that is. It's meant to be next year, though. So hopefully it'll be a case of we have, Room Camp, and then maybe the next season over we can have the full season of Euro Camp 2.
I
That
mean,
would be
it's being
nice.
pretty well received, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and I mean it's even become infamous on some of like the 4chan boards and Reddit boards and all that because the people are like, I went out camping and now there's a forest fire. Damn you, Euro Camp.
I remember seeing that one. It was terrifying.
Well, it's the last week of the summer season of anime, and that means one thing. It's season in review time. Now, there have been a lot of shows this season that have pulled at the heartstrings, and then there have been ones we've overlooked. We're looking back at the season's big hitters, and there is a lot to talk about right after the news.
Making headlines.
Really?
Sort of.
Anime news.
Goblin Slayer shows off poorly voiced promo videos and orange picking with Kazuma from Konosuba. This is Kawaii-Fi Anime News. Several of this year's biggest anime films will be screening in LA in October as part of the Animation is Film Festival. Makoto Shinkai's Weathering With You, Ayumu Watanabe's Children of the Sea, and Fuji TV's Ride Your Wave will all be screening in competition at the festival, with several directors participating in Q&A panels after the screenings. With all three films doing well in Japan, it'll be interesting to see how they fare in the United States. Rock band and boy love anime Given will be heading to the big screen next year with a new feature-length film on the way. Due for release in 2020, the film will be focusing on the adult members of the band, unlike what was seen in the anime adaptation. Dungeons & Dragons inspired anime series Goblin Slayer has had its first teaser trailer for the upcoming theatrical episode released online with an unusually narrated English trailer. The trailer has copped criticism online for its poor quality of voiceover in English, with several questioning whether the narrator was familiar with the language to begin with. Have a listen.
An impregnable fortress. Take one step inside. And there's only one way out.
The special will be headed to Japanese cinemas on February 1st, 2020, though hopefully with a better voiceover when it's eventually dubbed. This season's final episode of Fruits Basket revealed the anime will be returning for a second season in 2020. The reboot of Natsuki Takaya's Fruits Basket began airing in April, with the show's first 25 episodes quickly labelled as Season 1. The new adaptation plans to cover the entire manga story, unlike the series from 2001, and features a new Japanese cast and staff due to Takaya's unhappiness at the handling of the story in its previous adaptation. Heading to the bookshelves, popular video game series Assassin's Creed is having one of its stories adapted into a manga, according to Shogaku's Sunday GX magazine. Called Assassin's Creed China, the series will follow Xiao Jun, the protagonist of the Assassin's Creed Chronicles China game, starting in the magazine's November issue. The Twitter account for this season's coming-of-age anime, O Maidens in Your Savage Season, has unveiled the series manga will have an epilogue chapter in its final compiled volume. The manga finished its run in September this year, with the 8th volume expected to be released in October. And fashion and modelling manga Smile Down the Runway is set to receive an anime adaptation according to a new website set up for the series. The story focuses on a girl named Chiyuka Fujito who dreams to be a Paris collection model but is considered too short to succeed. She teams up with a classmate who wishes to be a fashion designer to both chase their dreams. And in dub news, Adult Swim's Toonami program block will be broadcasting dubs of the two big shows from the past few seasons in its upcoming October run. Season 2 of One Punch Man will premiere its English dub on October 12th, having previously aired only with subtitles in April this year. The wait for the dub is due in part to Viz Media acquiring the master license for Season 2, though typically a longer production time for dubs tends to produce a better quality final product. And Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba will also premiere its English dub on Toonami on the same day, with Aniplex America previously announcing their plans for the dub in July. And finally, if you've ever longed to go on a long bus tour with Kazuma from isekai comedy series Konosuba, well, it seems someone in their marketing department had you in mind. The official Konosuba bus tour will take fans to the seaside town of Yugawara to enjoy a hot spring foot bath and orange picking with Kazuma voice actor Jun Fukuyama and Ruffian voice actor Tetsu Inada. With tickets costing around 25,000 yen, around $230 or 350 Aussie, you'd hope you'd get to leave without Kazuma using his infamous steel ability on you. And that's your anime news for the week ending September 22nd, 2019.
I feel like that's a t-shirt. I went on the Konosuba tour and I kept my undies.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
So you go to a seaside village in Japan. That is nice. That is pleasant. I've seen some great kind of places on touristy websites. Mm-hmm. And you're going there with the voice actor of Kazuma. That's cool.
And the ruffian, the artisan weaver.
Exactly, yeah. He's cool. They're cool. And you pick oranges. How does that have anything to do with each other?
I don't know. I think someone from the tourism department went, ooh, I have an idea.
Maybe
everyone likes oranges, right?
Maybe they're going to give the foot bath.
Oh, that'd be an experience.
I feel so awkward though.
I don't know what to tell you.
This is such a random decision. Like, let's go. It's like a wine tour. Let's go on a wine tour with like the voice of Pinky and the Brain, and they're going to lead you to squish grapes for wine, and then they're going to serve you some cheese. I don't know. Like,
Or
so
alternatively,
random.
you could do it with Aqua and Darkness, and obviously Aqua voice actor will end up throwing up by the end of it, and Darkness will be found locked in a barrel. So
And loving it.
And loving it. But I mean, then there's. I've got to be honest. That dub for Goblin
my
Slayer.
Goodness.
Now I'm not
Play it
entirely.
again. Can you play it again? I just want to.
I can, unfortunately.
An impregnable fortress. Take one step inside. And there's only one way out.
That makes no sense. Why would you say take one? What it should be is like take one step inside and you're never coming back. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Not,
It's bad.
that is
So look, the
Maybe
series itself covered like the first two novels, and this special adaptation. We're not sure if it's technically a film or just an extra long episode that's going to the cinemas. Is going to adapt the fifth novel, so that's maybe 6 episodes worth in a hit. So that would be a fair chunk. Whether that is I honestly don't think that's the voice acting we're going to get for narration from here on out.
it can't be.
It can't be.
Yeah, that is weird.
It is very weird, and I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that is not what we end up with, because it's a really good series. Admittedly, it is a dark fantasy. It's not going to be for everyone.
Emphasis on the dark.
Very dark. Definitely mature. Definitely not for anyone under 18 because of some of the content that's involved. But it's got a good story, and that's what draws people into it. But
Absolutely.
on that note, we do need to go and talk about the stories from this season. There have been some which have been really good. Others that
Others we've
kind of lost their way and
yeah.
we've dropped.
Yep.
Obviously, this is our personal opinion. We're not going to say don't watch anything, but here we go.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
Why do we watch that?
Definitely in my top 5.
Season in review.
Oh, I remember Granblue.
Oh, yes.
I want to watch it again.
Me too.
The manga's still going, actually, for Granblue
I
Fantasy.
might just have to watch it.
More
just read
public
that.
nudity.
More public nudity.
Yeah.
In case you wonder what we're talking about, Granblue is a anime that was about diving.
Diving,
But they
yes.
didn't really go diving. It's more about the club that they were involved in at the uni and how...
And how they really enjoyed nature.
Yeah, getting
The
naked.
naturist getting
Mostly
naked
the
in
guys and all the girls going like, "Why are you doing that?"
It was pretty awesome to see these massive dudes just going, "Let's get naked."
How
We
else
should
are you
see
going
more
to
of
places
that.
as Paper Rock if you're not naked?
Yeah.
I know, right? Some of the conversations were bonkers. All right.
But the first one we're going to talk about
Yeah,
today
we're starting
is-
with the short forms.
Yeah, the dropped. This one, Are We Lost? Or Sunandeska. This one is because of a plane crash. 4 girls are spending the springtime of their lives on a deserted island. With no resources, they have to make everything and catch everything they want to eat. High school girl survival stories. Was there much of a story?
There wasn't. All right, so this clearly has a very specific audience. I'm not sure we're it.
I don't think we're it either.
I'm sure Bear Grylls would enjoy this, especially the first episode.
You can't see me, but I'm shaking my head. If you're into fan service and only fan service, go watch it. Actually, better yet, go watch Jurassic Park because Ian Malcolm shows you how to do fan service right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you talking Jeff Goldblum?
The one and only.
It's look, I like an anime which has something to teach me. I like things which have
Yeah.
little educational subnotes, and I feel like there is something to this, but it really is overshadowed by the constant pantsu shots and fan service, and it's just
Yeah.
it's
I
a
mean,
bit
at
much.
least there's a tiny bit of education
I mean,
in
like
amongst
you
the
did
fan service.
learn about, like, I mean, we only watched the first couple of episodes, and we did at least learn that, you can wring out a fish and drink its blood.
I'd love to see Bear
survive.
Grylls' reaction to watching this.
Oh, that'd be an amazing YouTube
Yeah.
video.
That would be fantastic.
No, they're doing it all wrong. No, he doesn't work in Cockney.
No, he
but
doesn't.
you know what I mean. No, I disagree.
All right, so let's move on to the other short form of this season, which was Magical Senpai. Now, we thought this might be a comedy of errors,
It
but
looked like fun.
it's a comedy of errors, but every error ends with an eki punchline. So
It really is kind of a one-note joke.
it is. It's a bit too gratuitous for me, at least. The obvious punchline for every joke is going to be some form of perverted situation.
At least Are We Lost, which is the last one, tried to cover up their lack of plot with some survival education.
Yeah.
There's no plot I've seen. Like, she couldn't even pull one out of her hat.
Well,
She
look,
tried.
I did get a few. I got to think about 4 or 5 episodes in Magical Senpai before I said, okay, I'm kind of done now.
Yeah.
And it does have an overarching story plot that there actually isn't a magic club in the school, and they're trying to then set up the magic school with her roping in that new, first year, and then get other members and so on. But it's there's just too much.
I feel like that's a subplot for like a slice of life anime. That's like something for an singular episode. It's just there was not a lot of plot to milk out of this.
If she was a bit more nuts, like Hotaru
well,
from Dagashi Kashi.
immediately, like when I saw her
similar
character
to-
design, I went, "That's Hotaru from Dagashi Kashi, just with a lower budget and slightly different eyes."
And less
So-
nuts. She needs more nuts.
No,
Less
she is just as crazy. It's just in a different way.
Oh, you think?
No, she is.
She
That's-
is, but it just...
It's a different type of crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not
Kind of
necessarily a good one.
theatrical. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, those were the only 2 big name short form animes that were, doing the rounds this season. And I think, to be honest, we've been used to seeing a lot of short form animes in a season and having some really good standout ones in there for short storytelling. This season didn't really deliver that. Like, I mean, they might be your cup of tea. They're not ours. So
we needed the break.
we do need to talk about the animes we've dropped that were standard length.
Demon Lord retries the first one, and...
So this is this season's The Room of anime.
And
I feel like it would have been more enjoyable if it was the room of anime, though.
that's the thing. I'm still sort of scratching my head on the matter. Was it serious?
I don't know.
Was
that's
it
the problem.
ironically bad or
The
unironically
bass, the double bass line, seemed to indicate that it was not serious. But...
Well, look, all I
Some
can
of the
say is
content.
that the author has some issues, and it
Oh, yeah.
feels like a self-insert, the way the
Oh, it
character's done.
does.
The art is terribly low budget as well. Specifically, like they never bothered to show, and I think we mentioned this in an intro a few episodes back, but whenever there's actual conflict or combat, you never see it. It's just you see the after results. So someone's charging in, and then you don't see the people collide, you just see the person go flying. And it's like, okay, we've cut the budget for that. We've got no budget for the background. And even when the characters are arguing, you can see they've purposely cut out any, tight facial animations or anything to make it cheaper.
It's actually, now that you've actually said that about the whole fighting animation, it reminds me very much of old 1960s Batman. Like the
Yeah.
live action thing. Instead of actually
bam,
seeing
pow.
the punches connect, you see the thing flash on the screen saying bam, pow, crack.
Yeah, but
whack.
they at least just put that over it to censor it. That was the idea. In this case, they didn't even do that. They just went and said, bam, happened.
And I, from what I remember, I started out defending this.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the plot is anymore. It gets 2 double basses out of 10 for me. The double bass and the hilariously terrible backgrounds count for both points.
Okay, that's fair enough. Like, I can see this from like a comedy perspective. Like if this has purposely been made to be this cheap and bad, I can understand. But this is also the first series from this new studio who's behind it. I can't remember the name of the studio offhand, but it's just like, well, you'd think a bit of a better performance would have been expected. So I'm giving it 2 self-inserts out of 10.
It's when I first started watching this, I just thought, man, this is a really bad thing. It's just, am I suffering from isekai fatigue? I don't know. But then I thought,
There was a lot this season.
yeah. Then we were told, okay, but this is sort of ironically good. This is ironically good, like The Room. It's funny how bad it is. So we watched it. It was a bit more enjoyable. We're like, yeah, but then the cringe
It's still
set in.
bad.
It is. I'm giving this. I'm giving this 2 shameless attempts out of 10.
Okay, that's fair enough. Cool.
So, next one. Do you love your mum and her 2-hit multi-target attacks?
No, I do
do
not.
not.
And I took the hit for the team on this one. I watched 9 episodes of this. 3 episodes
Whoa.
for each of us.
You poor man.
Kyle, this is a bad anime.
It's
right?
bad. I mean, look, I know I said I wouldn't call out an anime for being bad, but this is this is the creme de la poop of this season.
How many episodes does it have this
12.
season? So you've watched
3/4
quarters of it.
Whoa.
Look,
The author has some serious issues. There's not a lot going on here. It's just awkward. Like
it is.
I'm under the impression that the whole, tension between the mother and the son in this show is then later revealed to be that they're not actually related.
Oh, it's so.
And it's just like you've just done that to make it okay later on in the book. That's all it comes down to. This is a show which takes the isekai. We thought this could have been quite good.
Yeah, it's got to be like an original take on the isekai genre. It's like, what if your mother came along with you and scolded you for all the bad things that you were doing?
But everything about this is lazy. Everything is named after mum. So, Mama's Best Guild, or, Mamama is the name of like a town, and the Mumski thing, and then the Mothering University, and Mum has all these ridiculous overpowered powers.
Okay, make it stop.
It's just everything about it screams that you need to see a psychologist.
Can I just suggest that ordinarily you wouldn't watch 9 full episodes of something you don't like unless there's something you may like about it. Is there really nothing to like? Was it really?
It keeps giving you glimpses of hope and then dashing them immediately.
I didn't
How
see
so?
So it'll be like, they're going to go to a school the next episode where the mums aren't allowed. And the way they preview that episode is not showing the mum in the preview. And then, of course, the mums appear in the episode and ruin everything.
But see, I wouldn't even be taken in by that because I just don't like him as a character. I don't care what he does.
His character
improves.
Away. His character does improve. The mum stays a constant. And they keep recruiting more and more girls, and there's the same issue with, all of the parents involved in this game. It's all mums. There's no dads. It's only mums.
You sure there's something you're not telling us?
No, it's...
9 episodes is a lot of time to devote.
Look,
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome. It's also that I could just put that on, and I knew neither of you were going to be here to watch it, so I could put it on, and I'm not going to get a spoiler of a show. Because then you guys will be like, we've got to rewatch that. And be like, I've already watched it.
This gets 3 inappropriate relationships out of 10.
I'm giving it 1 Freudian slip out of 10.
2 dull protagonists out of 10.
I'm giving it 3 because I just can't believe how blatant it is.
Yeah,
it's just that.
This is bad. Like this is like like a few years ago, there was a period there where there was a lot of strong, over-the-top ecchi shows. Right?
I don't know. I didn't watch them.
Well, if you had been watching what was coming out and seeing all the previews, you'd be like, oh dear.
Okay.
And it was a good 5. There was a good 5 years there where that was kind of the go-to gag. This feels like the last desperate breath of that gag.
Oof.
That's what it feels like.
And it is snuffed out, in your opinion.
I'm hoping so, because if this gets a second season, I will cry myself to sleep.
I feel like it was directed at a very certain kind of audience, and honestly, I think there will be more of it.
Yeah,
sad to say.
No. So let's move on to Grand Belm. Now, Grand Belm didn't really grab us, but I do not think we are the target demographic for this.
Yeah, this is sort of the dark magical girls trope, which came around with Madoka not so long ago.
Yeah.
It's continuing in its own sort of way, and interesting take on it.
It's an look. I'm not gonna lie. It's an interesting take, but it just doesn't for the type of stories I look for. This isn't it. And it's dark magic girls meets mecha combat in an alternative world.
Chibi mechas.
Chibi mechas, yeah. Now this is really popular with those who have been enjoying the Magical Girls series, like Madoka Magica, Magical Girls Site, anything which has that sort of twist to it, where it's kind of a little bit off. And I just didn't get pulled in, and that's fine. I don't need to. But for me, there were just too many cliche tropes, and while that's a selling point for the fans of the genre because it's familiar, it's what they're looking for.
Yeah. It's
not my cup of tea.
I think I could see where you're coming from that.
I have to say I agree. I loved it until she was isekai'd.
Yeah, and it's a temporary isekai as well in that first episode. Some of the guys over at Anime News Network really love this, and if you like the shows in this genre, you're going to feel right at home. I mean, there is really good visuals. The voice acting, especially I don't know about the dub, but the Japanese version of the voice acting is really good. It's quite emotive.
It is.
But it just didn't grab me, and because of that, I can't rate it because I don't know enough about it, and I'm not the target demographic. It'd be wrong for me to rate it.
Agree.
Yeah. I feel
I'm
like
gonna
that's.
go with that too.
I feel like that's a pretty diplomatic approach to it.
The next one we dropped pretty hard.
Nakanohito Genome, or the ones within. I'm just going to say it up front. I'm giving it a 1 out of 10.
Yeah, this is not us. This is definitely not targeted us. So this is an anime that focuses on streamers, like YouTube and Twitch streamers, getting isekai'd. We're not the generation that watches streams.
But I still don't think this is a generational gap. I just
feel like it's just so melodramatic, and it was just over the top where it didn't need to be.
And it just doesn't explain. It doesn't explain itself.
No, exactly. And we don't know why the main character's making these lofty speeches. We don't know anything about who he is.
It's asking you to know a lot more about this world and how it works and who these people are than the first few episodes will actually let on to you.
It asks you to accept a lot up front, and I think because we're used to well-developed stories and that's what we really enjoy, like the ones where they do progressive world building in that first episode, it doesn't really connect with us as an audience. This show has been gaining popularity, and I the only reason I can think of that is that, well, actually, I can't think of a reason for that, but it's driven by a trend, and it's been, if you have a look on the Annie Trends charts the past few weeks, it's actually up until episode 6, it wasn't even in the top 10. The last 3 weeks, it has flown up the charts. So something big must have happened in it, which has got people back into it.
Okay.
It's to each their own, I guess, but yeah, this is absolutely not my own.
Yeah, it's definitely aimed at people who watch a lot of streaming. If that's not you, you probably won't like it. To be honest, I think we are getting a bit of isekai fatigue, as you mentioned, because there's a lot of it this season.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just different versions of it.
Yeah.
This one is not my cup of tea. So I can't really defend it. We do need to move on to The Forgotten. Now, these are episodes and shows that we, did intend to watch all of and just kind of forgot about halfway through the season, or just never really clicked and then thought we'll get back to it later.
There's a lot on our plate, people. There is a lot of anime out there every season.
Oh my god, next season is going to be hard.
Oh, don't say that.
At least we have the Christmas break to catch up, because otherwise we're going to be so far behind.
Roll on Golden Week. Huh?
Yeah. There's Isekai Cheat Magician. Now, this had an interesting premise.
Yeah.
It's rather than one person getting transported to a fantasy world, 'tis two.
Yeah, like the high school students.
That's not all.
Taichi and Rin disappear in a beam of light, and when they come to, they are in a world of swords and magic. They experience an attack by monsters. Adventurers save them. They go to the Adventurers Guild, and then they're found to possess unbelievably powerful magic. They're OP.
That old chestnut.
Now, this is obviously a very common trope.
Oh, yeah.
But the way they handle it in this series was kind of intriguing.
I didn't want to not like this. The characters and their relationship to each other seemed different to other experiences with and other isekais. I guess it just lost me.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the character's fault for that. This is the typical kind of thing, but the characters are very, very bland. Don't get me wrong, it's the world building that actually really grabbed me.
Oh, yeah.
You actually get a sense for kind of like the countries and the politics with very little explanation, but kind of an idea for how it all works.
It's enough to quickly set you in the world and say, hey, look, this is the world you're in, and this is how you fit into that world.
And you get an idea that you want to explore it. You just wish that you were exploring it with, a couple of more interesting protagonists.
One of my biggest gripes with this is the opening. It is a cacophony of noise. There is, as someone who's musically orientated, it's very difficult to like.
Yeah, it's we like to collect some covers by some decent artists to play for you guys for this sort of thing. I actually went out of my way to try and look for the cover for this, and all I found was a guy biting on a keyboard.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
But look, I mean,
Maybe
Isekai
we're
Cheat...
missing the point. I don't know, but...
Isekai Cheat Magician is not a fundamentally bad show or anything like that. It's just... With there being so much isekai at the moment, it feels like a lot of it's being lost in the wash at the moment. And, I mean, it does do quite a few things that are not cliche tropes. And I think it suffers from the fact that there's too much good stuff to watch this season.
Perhaps.
So what do you rate it?
I have to give it a 4. 4 missed opportunities out of 10.
3 random side plots out of 10, because I think it started well.
Despite its flaws, I still would like to know where it's going. I'm giving it 6 more isekais coming out next season out of 10.
That's fair. That's fair.
Cool.
Now, these two are fallovers from last season's. We didn't really watch them last season. We thought we'd give them a chance this season if we got time.
We did not have time. So that led us into Mix Meisei story. And this
basketball.
is...
No,
baseball.
Baseball.
Wow.
It starts with a B and there's ball. Basketball, yes.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
Now, this one comes in pretty well rated on a lot of anime sites. My anime list reads it as like a solid 7 out of 10. So
wow.
Them's good ratings.
I mean, look, we watched the first episode. Well, like the first half of the first episode, have a quick squiz to see what it was all about. And it looks really beautiful.
Yeah, we just haven't gotten around to watching the rest of it.
So, I mean, I definitely want to revisit it. It's just a matter of when.
I kind of don't know if I'll return to it. Sporting animes aren't my thing, with rare exceptions like Megalobox or something like that. But I don't know if I can return to this one. I'm not really baseball savvy.
Yeah. Mix Meisei story is actually set in the same universe as a prior baseball anime from like 30 years ago, I think it is. And
I did notice that they managed to keep the animation style relatively consistent, if slightly updated to that, which is a nice little callback.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would like to watch more of it, but I don't know. I mean, I think the previous anime was called Touch, and Mix revolves around brothers and baseball as the main theme, is pretty much the whole series does. Yeah. I want to watch it, but I don't know if I'll have the time, and I can't remember if this was the one which had 25 episodes or 50. So, because if you remember last season, we were talking about there were 3 different baseball animes. One of them was 12 episodes, one was 25, and then there was one which was like 50 or 100 or something bonkers like that. We're just going to keep going with it.
I mean, they came out at the start of baseball season, so, you know.
Which we get every year. And that obviously does lead us on to the other one from last season.
You know.
I do?
No.
We all know. I can't remember a lot about this. I think we've just watched so much anime since we just had a look.
Well, if you recall, I kept this on the list saying that I would get around to watching more of it.
I remember you saying that.
I did not.
Its concept sounds reasonably cool.
I mean, look, I talked about this last season and said that, you know, I had concerns based on its origin being based on a visual novel game of adult orientation. And I didn't know how well it would stand up. And while it does have its hardcore core following of it, I just don't think I'm it. I mean, I don't enjoy the narrative style of it at all.
No, I gave it a shot. I think I watched 2 episodes, didn't really make it to the 3rd one. And yeah, it's just a bit of a confused mess. I can't get behind the characters. And what was that anime from, like 2014, 2016, Island?
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that, in that it feels like it's got a lot to give, but it just doesn't seem to want to hand it over.
Like, same. Like, I really wanted to get into Island, and I got about 3 episodes in and then just ended up watching other things. And that similar concept there, where it's based on a visual novel or game from prior. I mean, like, I tried it, just didn't grab me. But if you play a lot of visual novels and games, you probably will enjoy the way it tells the story. So, I mean, if that's your cup of tea, by all means, go for it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now, that does take us to our first track that we're playing today. This is the opening from Fire Force. It's called Inferno by Mrs. Green Apple, and this is the cover by Romi.
照らすは闇僕らは歩き慣れてきて日々まとった夢は安泰な暮らしだが刺激不足ゆえにダラダラ照らすは闇僕らの歩き慣れていた道はどこだ時はたまにシャッだがぬくもりに包まれたらほむらが立つしるべの方へ思い出すは優しいメロディー僕らは思考を急にやめているんだ夢は安泰な暮らしだが知識不足ゆえにハラハラ食せば闇をすかにすがりついたまま朽ちてくんだここは豪華の中だが傷跡が火につきたらみんなもが立つ光の方へ手を取るは新しいメモリー夜空が沸かすしるべの方へ遮るは堅苦しいセロリ永遠はないなどないなどやっぱ苦しいなどないでみる風船もいつかはしぼむ変われ僕らは命の飛ばす魔法も全部僕にとっての宝物永遠はなんだとなんだという僕らは命の火が消えるその日まで歩いてゆく
Well, that is a heck of a track.
I love the bass progression.
It's so good.
Are we going to get copyright strikes for that again? I mean, it sounds...
Yeah, Romi is such a good musician that...
Romi, you're too good.
You're too good,
They
mate.
just think you're the real thing.
Yeah, every time we've played one of his songs, we've had a copyright strike by YouTube's automated system going, you've used copyrighted materials. Like, well, no, it's a cover. It's just a really good cover. Now, we will talk about Fire Force later in the show. Unfortunately, all of the tracks that we're using this episode are in the latter half of our show from the shows that they're from. So we will get back to them in a minute. But we now need to go through the revisit list. Now, this is shows that we did want to watch, just didn't have time, and definitely will be revisiting in the next couple of weeks. And we'll have to start that off with...
Certain Scientific Accelerator.
Now, this is the latest in the series that originated with a certain magical index. Then there was a certain scientific railgun.
Which was awesome.
We had season 3 of Index a couple of seasons back, actually. And this then follows on from that. And I've caught about 5 episodes of this myself. And I actually ended up watching it dubbed with my brothers. And the dub's actually really well done.
Yeah, it's the main character of this was a villain in the first ever series, if I'm not mistaken.
And he ended up injured and in hospital and has lost his ability to be a powerful Esper. Essentially, the series, if you're not aware of a certain series, is that there's a city called Academy City, which is filled with people who have become Espers. So they're people who have, superpowered abilities, like they might be able to, make things float or set fire to things, or just using their own telekinesis, essentially.
Yeah, it's like there's a bunch of Espers in the city, but it's also just an entire city devoted to being as many universities and schools as possible as well.
And there's this whole massive backstory around it about, why this has happened, and there's a government scheme behind it, like subtly in the shadows, which is hinted at through every one of these series. Accelerator, at least, is a series where you're actually focusing on a villain who's kind of, I wouldn't say he's turned good, but he's sort of like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And it's done quite well. It follows on from the character from the last time you see him in the we'll call it the Raildex series.
That's a good idea.
It's well animated, and it's in style with the current existing series, which are a bit older, so they've maintained an older style of animation, sort of that we saw predominantly around the 2005 to 2010 period.
Interesting.
Yeah. So look, I've enjoyed what I've seen of it. I will be watching the rest of it in the coming days. I'll give it 7 destroyed schools out of 10 straight away.
Wicked. I haven't actually watched a single episode of it yet, so I'm going to have to withhold judgment.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think Coco's the same. You haven't watched any, have you?
No, I haven't, not yet, but we will. We'll get around to it.
We will.
The Raildex series is actually pretty consistently awesome, so yeah.
Now we have watched a little bit of this next one, which is Demon Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
Kimetsu no Yaiba.
This was kind of like anime's budding buddy that everyone wanted to watch.
Yes.
And it's kept going. It's the new big shonen one.
We predicted it was going to be the new kind of shonen golden child.
Yeah, but then this season happened, and there's 2 more
Fire
Shonen
Force.
Golden Tiles. Fire Force and Dr. Stone both have just went like, wow.
I mean, like, Demon Slayer is excellent. We somehow left it by the wayside as we watched everything else. But I'm into it. I still want to finish it. Main character Tanjiro is a little bit over shonen, but that's not a negative. In fact,
I think that adds
it
to
makes
it.
Yeah.
It makes it.
Yeah.
I'm persistently told that you need to watch like past episode 4 and then it just blossoms.
Yeah.
Like the new characters for him to sort of bounce his personality off are introduced and it just really cements it. Like he meets a kid who is an absolute coward, completely incompetent unless he's asleep. Then he becomes like a Super Saiyan master.
So it's kind of like Rock Lee doing Drunken Master.
Yeah, in Naruto.
A little bit, but with a touch of narcolepsy. And another guy who has a boar for a head, who is just
That
the
sounds
epitome
cool.
of a berserker.
That sounds pretty cool.
We will continue to watch it.
It is animated well, and it's a shame we didn't get around to it because it does look like it's got a lot of promise.
And it's got such a good story. The story is really solid, and the setting is wonderful.
Yeah. So Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba is essentially to do with man-eating demons and then a kid learning to become a demon hunter to avenge his family.
And to hopefully get his sister back on track because she gets turned into a demon, which is why I'm giving this 7 gagged demons out of 10.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Did I?
I will definitely give this a strong 7 as well. 7 severed limbs out of 10.
This one, I feel like this is a Naruto piece that's going to be sticking around for a while. I can, say that I want to rush to see this, but I also don't think I have to because I think like One Piece and stuff like that, it's just going to keep going.
I don't think it's actually got the same sort of broadcast schedule. I think it's more following like the My Hero Academia plan, where while it is coming out every, the manga at least is coming out every week.
Yeah.
They're waiting until they've got compiled enough of it so there's no filler, because I think everyone's learned from both One Piece and Naruto and all of the other old shonen shows that if you put filler in, you lose audience.
Nonetheless, I'm giving it 7 expectations out of 10.
Ooh!
Very nice.
This does bring us to Fruits Basket, which we mentioned in the news because it's getting season 2 already. And
Coco's happy.
I got the
And
note.
high
you hit the note.
Never happened.
So, this just tugs at the heartstrings. The original was, always talked about a lot about it being very emotive and very strong at connecting with people.
Yeah,
and
it starts with a tragedy.
this is the remake, and I love it.
It's beautiful.
I mean, people always reference the original in their like top favorite animes way back when, long before I even met you guys.
And to think that the author of the manga was like, I hated the previous version, so we're going to reboot it and we're going to get a whole new cast, a whole new director at a completely different studio because I own the copyright and I'm going to have a say in this.
And it seems to be like the new version, the updated, like it seems to be very well received, honestly.
The problem with the 2001 one was that the manga wasn't finished and they tried to sum the whole thing up in 25 episodes.
And we've seen how that can work for other things, like the original
Yeah.
Hellsing.
There was a lot left out of it, unfortunately.
was.
I love this anime.
You do.
Toru has started to display some added bravery lately, which was really lovely to see. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit too harsh on her. I'm like, why are you such a wet towel? But she has lost everyone that she loves and everything, and she's living in a tent. Come on, I need
She
to be
was
more
living in a tent.
The tent got buried.
that, you know,
Yeah.
she's got other things to deal with before, you know. But I'm looking forward to seeing how her character continues to develop. The story so far has been pretty consistently good.
We lost track around episode 15, I think, because then we just had to catch up on the deluge that was this season.
Yes, we did. So it gets so far, so 8.5 onigiri out of 10.
Onigiri.
Because I want to see where it goes.
I'll give it 8 zodiac signs out of 10 so far.
7 feelings out of 10.
7 feelings. Feelings are now a currency.
Nicely done. Feelings.
And onto one which I am very, very happy with.
And been very underrated this season.
Hugely underrated. We are talking, of course, about gorgeous butterfly, young Nobunaga.
He is a gorgeous butterfly, isn't he?
Now, when we saw that name, we were like, that's a bit of an unusual name.
Yes,
It's
like,
about him bursting forth from his cocoon or his pupa into... I'm not a biologist,
Because-
obviously. whatever they burst forth from and just...
because
Oh,
this isn't a
beautiful.
story about like just some young man going through the springtime of his youth and learning to become a man. No, this is Nobunaga we're talking about.
Oda
He is
Nobunaga.
He's this historic, singular, most interesting and dashing figure from feudal
I'd say
Japanese history.
2/3 of Japan at his death were under his rule.
Yeah.
2/3.
And during the Warring States period, that's pretty impressive.
That is a
Like
big
he's
deal.
as big a deal, like as big a historic deal as Genghis Khan, let's say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I'm
Caesar,
trying to
Alexandria.
Yeah, he's like one of those old, emperor type figures. And
Yeah.
I love this show. I mean, I've
Yeah.
only caught this is why it's in the revisiting section. I've only managed to catch 3 episodes.
But it's this actually brings up an issue which we were discussing during our watching of Vinland Saga. The whole idea of something being spoilerific if it's a matter of ancient history.
Yeah, it's
Like-
well, I
Like,
mean, let's be
but
honest.
yeah.
If you're watching something historic, you know they're all going to die eventually.
And for anyone
Technically.
who's read his history, well, there's a quote from Anakin Skywalker in my head right now, but at the same time,
I don't like sand.
Or I have the high
No.
ground.
no. This is. Yeah,
but-
I won't say anything more,
Yeah.
just in case you know.
But
you've
yeah,
got
so
to
that's the
discover
thing.
this.
Is it a spoiler if it's a matter of history?
That's a good
I feel
question.
like it is if you don't know the history yet.
That's
But
a
at
fair
the
way
same
of
time,
looking at
it can really enhance the viewing if you know what's going to happen because you're looking out for things. You're like, oh, that's so and so. She does this, and that's that person.
Well,
he
I mean,
does that.
same thing with like Vinland Saga going, that's Leif Erikson. That's Leif Erikson. That's not just some random dude. That's an actual
Yeah.
historic figure.
It is
It's
pretty
like
cool.
seeing a celebrity walk in on screen just going, wait, what? Why are you here? Oh my God, this is during
Yeah.
that whole thing. And oh, wow.
So like,
It's so hard to know.
look, the thing about I feel about young Nobunaga is not about the end of the journey, but it's the journey there. That's the premise of the series.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah, there was-
we know that there is an end, and we know that there's a tragedy which befalls Nobunaga at the end of his life.
I think it was actually
Well-
pretty severely hinted at in the first episode.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
fact that
he took it into his own hands.
he
But
did, but please don't.
sorry.
You're really going
I'm sorry.
for it.
High
I'm sorry.
ground.
That's-
High ground.
sorry.
Anyway, so each episode kind of
Sad.
serves as a self-contained mini story of Oda's life, of a defining moment, and I think it's more about seeing them as lots of mini self-contained episodes,
Sort of
as
chapters.
opposed, chapters of life, as opposed to going to the end. I mean, what was it they did recently? Like, I mean, I know we've got like Black Widow coming out, and it's like, well, we know the end of the story. Well, we go watch it, and there's been other films like that. But the reason you go to watch it isn't for the ending; it
It's
is
not for
the
the story,
journey.
it's for
Exactly,
the character.
yes.
Yeah. So, look, I definitely want to get back into this. I'll happily give this 7 stolen toys from the docks out of 10.
I'm going to go with 7 artistic liberties out of 10.
Oh, there's a lot.
I'm going to go with 8 innocent civilians out of 10.
Oh, Jesus.
The women and children first.
Wow.
2.
Okay. So, moving on. How heavy are the dumbbells you lift?
Pretty heavy.
Pretty heavy. Pretty
Nah,
heavy.
not really
I've,
heavy.
I've been to the gym recently, so it's not too bad. And
I
I'm
haven't.
not gonna lie, because I was going to the gym and then I took a break for a few months for work, and then this anime came out, and I suddenly remembered how much fun I had at the gym and went back.
Yeah, it really makes it look fun because it can be fun. It is fun, but it's fun
the
for
OP
these
is
people.
really catchy as well.
Now, I believe you two have a mutual friend who is like a personal trainer. Have you introduced her to this yet?
I have. I actually was going to bring that up. So I showed
she
this to
think?
my personal trainer, Eva, and she loves it. Now, she thinks
thought
it's
she
great that
might.
they're promoting exercise and that they're actually showing how the exercises are done as opposed
Yeah.
to the typical,
Yeah, they're
look, I got
educating.
buff, done.
Yeah.
So, that being said, the eki content in this show is tempered by the self-awareness of it. And when I was talking to Eva about this, she's like, and she saw the shots that I was talking about, and she's like, yeah, but that's just what happens in a gym.
Yeah,
And it's like,
pretty much.
You know what? If you're not used to going to the gym, if you're not used to working, especially with girls in a gym, then yeah, it would seem like it's quite erotic. But if you're used to having in my case, I've worked with girls in gyms, and you're used to being in those situations, you're like, well, that's just, we're getting fit. That's the important point. It's not about the eki content.
As long as they're wearing undies.
Yeah.
That can happen in gyms, and you have to sort of... I think trainers have had to, take them aside and go, people can see.
Yeah, that's fair.
That happens.
Man, gyms are weird, man.
So look,
Yeah.
each episode of this show does end with an exercise for you to participate in at home.
That's awesome.
So it's definitely using the eki to promote fitness.
But it also uses MattyyyM.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It lays on the fan service and also educates on technique. And the best part about it is the ridiculous transformation of MattyyyM.
Yeah.
I wonder why
So-
they called him that.
Yeah, MattyyyM looks like a normal, your everyday personal trainer, and he's wearing his full,
A
tracksuit.
t-shirt and
and all
a
that.
shorts and
And then
stuff.
suddenly someone mentions chest presses and he suddenly flexes, and it's like someone has put like a dorky little anime face on Arnold Schwarzenegger's body
Yeah,
in his
it's-
prime.
The only way you
The
can say
head
it
is tiny.
he has skipped face day.
He didn't skip neck day though. His neck's
Yeah.
ripped.
No, his
Oh,
neck is
man.
still ripped. He still does his neck exercises. He does
Yeah.
neck ups.
Yeah, I know action figures are usually a lot better these days, but back when we were growing up, usually the
yeah.
head was really tiny, the body was really big. Think that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
like,
you might have seen like some of these videos floating around on a couple of anime sites at the moment showing it off. And I think we even shared one on our Facebook page at some point as
Yeah.
well. And it just hits all the notes. It's great.
For me, just going back to Mukanjyo, there is just a moment which just boggles my mind and is
yeah.
almost terrifying to me, where he, as his enormously muscular, small-headed self, will put back on his jacket,
Yeah.
zip up, and shrink down to a
Yeah.
normal size, and nobody will say a word about it. It's just like,
But you know what? That's
acknowledge
What's going
this.
on?
You know what? At the same time, unless you're really really buff,
Oh yeah.
usually you can't really tell unless you're looking what someone looks like under their shirts. Because sometimes normal sort of looking person takes off their shirt and they're completely ripped, and you're just like, I did not see that.
Yeah.
I guess
some people can conceal it. Maybe it's like a
Yeah.
jab at people like that.
Well, I mean, let's also point out that, because we mentioned this in the news, sorry, not in the news, at the beginning of the episode, that they had a video out recently of both the author and
yes.
the director literally seeing how many dumbbells they could lift. And you look at them and you go, you guys are ripped.
Yeah, these are some jacked
done well.
individuals. These are like incredibly fit writers of anime.
Who would have thought? It's great.
Good
Look,
on them. They're practicing what they preach. That's what we want to
I'm
see.
going to give this just I definitely need to finish watching it. I only got halfway through, but I will happily give this 8 dumbbells out of 10.
Yeah. This gets 7 action figures physiques out of 10 for me.
It's motivating, it's entertaining, it makes me laugh while it educates me. It's getting 7 incredible shrinking men out of 10.
Oh, jeez.
Well said.
All right, that brings us to our next track, which is actually from Astra Lost in Space, which...
We just finished today.
Yeah. The song is actually called Starfrost. It's by Nanao, I believe is the correct translation. And there's we found this amazing singer who actually lives in Tokyo, and her name's Nanao, and she's done lots of covers and stuff. It's just the short anime versions of it.
Yeah.
But here's her cover of Astra's Lost in Space's opening theme, Starfrost.
いつもの星空いつかは僕にも届くのかな瞬く奇跡指でなぞれば悔しさがにじんだ 聞こえるよ
Kawaii-Fi Radio. Why do we watch that?
Definitely in my top 5.
Season in review.
That was a seamless transition.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Good job, Nanao.
Yeah, now that was a great cover.
Absolutely.
Which does take us to part 2. Now, this is the shows we've managed to keep on top of this season for the most part. There is a lot to go through, and we need to start off with a little bleach job that I think we need to talk about here. This is Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. Now, I've read the manga. I'm up to date on the manga. It's pretty edgy for what it is.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it looks pretty cool. The character's main gimmick is an interesting spin on like the RPG kind of job systems.
Yeah.
He's not your sort of typical ranger, rogue, or warrior or wizard. He's an alchemist sort of support unit.
Is he a
using
wizard,
his
Kenny?
thing I'm a what?
A wizard.
It's
look. I mean, I like the premise behind it, but
Yeah.
I do feel like they've really scrapped a lot of important stuff from it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it starts off with his entire class being transported, which I believe, like, I don't remember seeing a whole lot on that. It was just sort of like, oh, look, bang, here we are.
Yeah, the manga's
It
the
was
same.
just established, and that's which is fine. There's a small bit of backstory. The classmate stereotypes are kind of there.
Yeah.
Main character Hajime does start off as picked on. Just one girl in the class is siding with him, from what I remember, and the
Yeah.
rest of them is sort of either
See,
like
now
picking
this
on
is-
him or just
This is a
leaving
point of
him out.
contention I have with this, because this is based on a light novel originally. To my knowledge, actually, this was actually meant to air a year ago, but due to a disagreement between the author of the light novels and the studio originally planning to do it, it didn't go ahead, and it's now been gone ahead with this studio.
Okay.
I can't remember offhand if it was Seven Seas or one of the other ones, but the light novels cover everything. The manga's missed bits and pieces. So for the manga, I hardly saw any of the classmates or anything like that, other than just the initial, hey, we're here. Oh, there's the attack. Oh, I'm falling into the dungeon. And then after that, I didn't see the classmates until they got to where we are in the series at the moment, which like past where you guys have watched, I think 2 episodes on from there, where we get introduced to the teacher again. So until then, you weren't aware of the like what had happened with any of them. The anime at least is showing what's happening in the meantime while he's stuck in the dungeon.
Yeah.
But the problem with the anime is that it's really it doesn't stand out, and it's bad as when it comes to things like CG and fight scenes. And these are the things which kind of are like the big, cathartic moments in the show where it could really stand out.
And honestly, it should be the draw card for this. I mean, this is a gunslinging superhero in this one.
I've gone into a fantasy world and I've managed to build a Humvee. Like, jeez.
And like there was a part of it from the beginning that I really sort of related to because like I've been bullied in school.
Yes.
Like a lot of like so many people as well.
I'm convinced nobody had a happy time in high school.
Yeah, I mean, some people seem to have, avoided it somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, his transformation is kind of similar in principle, like for sometimes what my imagination conjured up. I'd sort of think if I could go to school tomorrow and I could fly, no one would be able to look down on me, for example.
Yeah.
If I could do this, or if I was taller, if I was stronger.
Wicked fantasies.
Yeah, but like he kind of goes a bit nuts with it. And although I do like the transformation on principle, at this point he's so different a person to who he was when he started out.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him, I haven't seen him get back in touch with his class yet.
Well,
So-
I think it kind of reminds me of Shield Hero.
Just
but it's-
handled
But
less.
I don't think
less
it's been
gracefully.
handled as gracefully. It's a lot
Yeah.
more. I guess you could say it's a lot more hatred towards the world. And on the note of the world, like the world building, they've done a fairly good job on that. Like establishing where they are, what's governing the world, how it operates, and how it works.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see like the world of it, like to explore.
Yeah,
But
Like if this was a video games, I'd take to the skies and just have a wander. But
I mean, I felt like the addition of the vampire as well was a bit
yeah.
how's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah.
later
look,
he gets a bunny ear.
There's the
girl.
there's the
that's
bunny
about to
girl,
rock up,
and
isn't
then at the very last 3 episodes, there's a dragon girl.
I just
Yeah.
I feel like it would be good to see this story just on him on his own and
Yeah.
sort of
Like I feel
don't
like
know.
it's just kind of becoming a harem anime. Even though he's clearly not interested in the other characters, it's still underlying it there, and their behavior towards him. You know how we've seen a lot over the years of the bad self-inserts where it's like, I'm going to, go to a fantasy world and I'll be strong and I'll be powerful and everyone will love me.
Like Demon Lord retry.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't as bad as Demon Lord Retry, but it's just not good either. It's not stand out.
It's
Like-
not Demon Lord retry, but I feel like it's on the same tracks.
yeah.
It's got the same underlying idea of being, dark and edgy and angry at the world without redeeming it or tempering it
Yeah.
with something to show that there is good in the world.
Without like even giving the main character a bit of a human edge to him. He's basically all angry all the time. I'm surprised it
Yeah.
hasn't started raining katanas around him.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
It's
I mean,
a
look,
bit of a shame.
I have enjoyed it, but it's you know how like you can enjoy an anime but you wouldn't watch it again. It's one of those for me. It's like I've learnt the story and I've learnt all I can from it.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like my vitriol for it is mostly based on just isekai fatigue. I've
Yeah.
seen too much.
Look, I mean, I would like to give it a high score, but I can't because there's too many cliche tropes in it, and I really don't feel like it's a bad anime, but it's not standout good. Like this is like
Yeah.
comparing to this is something you will forget about in a few seasons and won't come back to.
Pretty much.
And I feel like my main gripe with it is that the main character, there's no redemption yet. There's no, okay, well, maybe there's no self sort of
even by the big
coming out
conflict
or-
at the end of the series, there's still no self-redemption.
Yeah, he's just a chain. He's just completely changed, and it's. I don't feel like that's a good message to send to people anyway. Anyway, that's why I don't like it. So I'm gonna give it 5. Well, that escalated quicklies. Got there in the end.
You got there in the end.
Out of 10.
Do you want to try that again?
I'm gonna give it 5. Well, that escalated quicklies. Out of 10.
Okay. I'm going to give it 5 bleach jobs out of 10.
5 edgy protagonists out of 10.
Wow, it's surprising. Because just for the record, listeners, none of us have actually compared our scores before we go on air.
No.
So the fact that we've all settled on a middling score says a lot.
Yeah, I think it means that we had high hopes and there's potential, but
I mean, look, if you're someone who hasn't seen
Balanced.
Gate or
Sword Art.
Sword Art Online or any of the other big isekai titles, you'll probably get a real kick out of this. You'll probably enjoy it, especially for any of like the downtrodden style ones like Shield Hero. Like, if you enjoy that, you will like this, but be aware that there's not a lot of character development for the main guy that happens. Sure, he does learn to trust the dragon. his companions gradually, but it doesn't feel like you look at the amount of things he goes through, you feel like that would generate a characteristic change or a warming. It doesn't. It's literally like flipping a switch. He's either his old character or his new character, and that's it.
Pretty much.
And I feel like that. We look for character development. We look for people who will show changes or evolve over time, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And like,
which is a shame.
I wish it did, because it has all of the right ingredients there.
Yeah, I way back in university, we were given a writing assignment to like take a character from one of the things, write how they are at the start of the book and how they are at the end of the book, write how they are at the start of the book, the middle, and the end. And frankly, you would only be writing the starting and end for this guy. It's one or the other, like you said.
Yeah, it's just a shame.
Let's move on to something nicer.
Dan
Matty. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Still hasn't been answered, that question. I don't think we'll ever get an answer.
Well, I mean, season 2, they haven't really went into the dungeon much.
No, there's no dungeon. Well, there's a little bit of dungeon, but not enough to, explore
I like
why.
a bit of dungeon.
Why it may be wrong.
Maybe.
Or why it may not.
Well, season 2 has picked up pretty much exactly where season 1 ends, right?
Yes.
Straight into the action. It's really good, like straight up into the power straight away.
Has anyone here seen Futurama?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of something that was in my head when I was watching a recent episode where Belle ends up in the pleasure district, which is ruled over by goddess Ishtar.
That is
I got to introduce. If anyone knows Death by Snoo Snoo, you'll probably understand what I mean. Anyway, so poor Belle.
Yeah, poor Belle.
I feel he's been tossed around a bit like a doll. Like, oh, this person wants this person.
A used toy.
Yeah.
Not much time is spent in the dungeon this season, and there seems to be 3 very distinctive arcs which are leading towards kind of a war between the familiars, which is kind of cool. You've got the first arc, which is to do with Apollo. Apollo basically is used to getting whatever he wants, and
he
challenges
wants Belle.
Hestia. It's because he wants Belle.
Yeah, that's the whole plot arc kind of it didn't really gel with me, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They were building up this whole like arena battle thing, and it's like familiar versus familiar, and then it was just sort of over.
Well, I mean, like I kind of like that. I like the fact that it's like these characters are already established, and we can now show you how this would play out without putting in lots of filler. Like you've met these characters before, because this is a second season.
I don't know, maybe it's my Dragon Ball fandom talking, but every time I hear there's going to be a grand tournament of all these different personalities and faces.
Fair.
You're expecting 10 episodes of fighting.
At least give me like 3 of like various kind of characters.
Well, I mean, even
crazy displays of power.
Even One Punch Man did that. Like, he went to the martial arts tournament. None of them there were big fighters, and then he wins it over 10 episodes.
I was just reminded of the Dragon Ball Super episode with Vegeta in that cube.
Oh,
which was
yeah.
the most. Oh my goodness!
It was very, very well done.
That was one of the best fights I've ever seen.
So, look, Dan Matty. Look, I do like the series to begin with, but I realize that they could have really spent more time like developing the interactions between it. I think it's more of a case that they wanted to get to a specific spot in the story before they finished this season.
Perhaps, yeah.
So they've kind of streamlined the story a bit compared to the light novels. Look, I like it, but I can't give it full marks because they could have done a lot more. So I'm going to give it 7 blue strings of fate out of 10.
See, I don't feel like there's so much of a personal crusade for Belle that's as engaging as it was when he was like the only one in the familiar.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of liked. I liked seeing the struggle and the slow sort of. So now that they've got everything, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, they've got everything, but Hestia's still got a massive amount of debt.
This is true. She does. So I'm going to give 6 precarious strings out of 10, maybe a 6.5. Because I mean, I liked the start of the Ishtar arc.
Yeah,
but
the frog lady was just
she put me off
too much.
That was a bit rapey.
Yeah, a bit rapey.
I don't know.
Uncomfortable.
I feel like this is going the way of that anime Black Cat for me, where I really enjoyed the first season, but the second season kind of missed the mark for me. I'm going to give this 6 swipe rights. Out of 10.
6 1 right.
Because is it wrong to pick up girl in a dungeon? There should be an app for that.
Alrighty.
Maybe you should make one.
Let's move on because we need to kind of head to the demonic place a bit.
The demon girl next door.
Definitely not evil.
Definitely not evil. And it's
very slice of life. I really was surprised.
Yeah, because this is a whole thing where it's supposed to be like the, demons and angels fighting each other. This is like a common sort of trope just to make some easy conflicts, like put two natural enemies in a room, see what happens. But the main character's in his...
She's a klutz.
Oh, yeah, the main character, she is told by like this fairy godmother demon that she is going to inherit all this demonic power if she can kill the local magical girl. But they find that they have absolutely no reason to kill each other and basically just end up hanging out. And
I mean, the Yoshida, it's kind of funny the way they line it up as well. It's like Yoshida, who's the main girl, is meant to take down this local magical girl, having just been turned into a demon girl. The local magical girl has actually, helped save the world already. So it's like, I'm in the starting area and my first boss is the end boss of the game. No. And, she's like, I don't like being a magic girl. I'm done with it.
Now, this is very similar to quite a popular series, Gabrielle Dropout.
Yeah.
And basically, if you heard of this series, if you were a fan of this series, I reckon this one is definitely for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that huge comedy element to it. It's definitely slice of life, but very genuine in the way the characters interact with each other. And I mean, I put off watching it for a while, but I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it 7 broken demon totems out of 10.
I don't think I've seen it enough to really rate it yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm going to keep watching it because it is adorable.
It's very adorable.
It's adorable.
Comfy and adorable.
It's funny. It's got a kind of a charm to it and a very sedate kind of a comedy. It's something that you can just put on and relax to. I'm giving it 7 epic battles between good and evil out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we do need to move on to one of the big ones that's been talked about this season.
I'm in love with this one.
Me
It's
too.
called Given.
I have a lot to say on Given.
Yeah.
I have a lot.
So do I. Shall we start with the music?
Yeah.
The
wow.
instruments. Oh, they are just so beautiful. They
so-
have been drawn. Sorry,
It's all on point.
I mean, here's the thing. Kyle, you're a muso, so it should typically follow that you like anything that's kind of very musical and rocky.
Yeah.
Coco, you're a female, so it follows that you should like yaoi.
But the thing is that...
No, it doesn't.
So, okay, I would like to start a point here.
Kidding,
There is a reason this has been super popular this season, and it's not because there's a yaoi fan base flocking to it.
It is a beautiful love story.
It is. It's very well developed
it's-
characters and story. There's interactions which feel genuine and real and grounded
And
in the
there's
real world.
little bits of comedy that just
Oh,
make
yeah.
it so it enhances the whole story.
And I mean, just because, it's a story about 2 guys falling in love, obviously you're going to get a lot of people online who immediately go, oh, that's just for the girls. And
It's really
It
not.
really isn't.
It's
These
a story
characters,
for everyone.
they're lovely, they're charming, they're quite beautiful.
yeah, I knew if I started watching this, I wouldn't be able to stop, and I didn't.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful.
The songs in every episode are incredible, and
Yeah.
especially episode 10. And if you were paying attention to Anime Trends, which is a website where lots of people who watch anime go and vote on their favorite episodes and all that, Given just flew to the top of the ranks on its 10th episode because this is incredible emotive performance given by one of the characters, and it's chock full of emotion and it's painful and it's amazing.
I can't wait to see MattyyyM actually sing
Mm.
on.
Oh,
with
that's right,
the
because you're
band.
behind me as well.
Yes,
It's
Yeah.
only
I
just
am.
hinted at in the 2nd episode that this is his kind of inclusion into the band that he wants to join.
And I mean, there's a lot of story behind MattyyyM and, what pains he's gone through and why that, and this, the rumors around him from the school, from people who went to middle school with him. And, it all comes out throughout the course of the series. I haven't caught the last episode yet because it hasn't aired, but I can't wait.
Main characters are wonderful. Supporting characters are wonderful. It's kind of drama with a little comedy, and it's about creating music together. And as a romance, so far, I'm going to give it 9 Marshall lamps out of 10.
Oh, the product placement. I would like to point out that being a musician, I really appreciated the attention to detail they had on the instruments. They not only that, they explain how those things might work for those not familiar with it. So it's not a case of just, you know how to tune a guitar, you know what a machine head is. It's like, no, it's like Matthew doesn't know what this is. So
it's kind of like he's a vessel for the audience to be introduced to the world of music. Almost.
Exactly.
And I didn't know what a pickup was before I watched this.
Yeah.
And now I do.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it 9 gay rock stars out of 10.
Yeah. I haven't watched enough of it to fully give an opinion, but my scoring is going to be a bit obscure because I'm giving it 7 cat ear headbands out of 10. They don't wear cat ear headbands, but I challenge you, rewatch the first episode, watch their behavior, how they interact with each other.
Imagine they got cat ears on.
They resemble cats. The way they lounge in the sunlight, the way they sort of tap at each other, and it's the way they interact. Tell me I'm wrong.
All right,
I can't tell you you're wrong, actually.
Because I can see it now. That's what kind of makes their interaction so adorable.
Well, I mean, look, given if you're keen to watch a very interesting, emotive show that doesn't stick to any gender norms or anything like that, and that's okay with you, you're gonna really enjoy this. Like, it's like I got taken to see Brokeback Mountain by an ex-girlfriend who didn't tell me at the cinema, and she didn't tell me what it was about before we went in. So obviously it was the initial, culture shock.
If anyone here hasn't seen it, it's very confronting.
Very confronting.
So
this isn't like that. This is a show which brings you in and introduces you to the characters, introduces you to their relationship and who they are.
It
so
feels
that you can learn
perfectly
about
organic.
them. Yeah, exactly. And it's 2 guys. Oh
it's
dear,
normal.
what a big deal.
It seems normal, and it should seem normal by this point.
Geez, gay marriage is normal in almost
it's
a
across
lot of
a
countries
lot of the world. Yeah,
now. So
thankfully,
there you go. But anyway, we should move on.
If it's for my daughter, I'd even defeat the demon lord.
I didn't know you had a kid.
I don't.
Oh. These jokes are never going to get old with these long-running shows.
No, with the long titles and stuff, the jokes write themselves.
They do. This show we immediately fell in love with.
We thought it was just going to be kind of another Germanic fantasy things. Too many times we've seen a fantasy about a demon-slaying uber hero with a wicked sword. And it's a world where adventurer is a literal serious profession, which a man can dream. This is absolutely one of those animes in its spare time.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, it's this guy who's devoted to his love for this inexplicably adorable demon girl he adopts as his loving daughter.
And you wouldn't know she's a demon girl either. All she's got is a little horn, which they then hide.
She's
with
got
like
one full horn and one tiny broken one. Oh, it's so cute! So, I can't get over how adorable it is.
So the character Dale I'm
peeking
he's a cool, composed, normally adventurer, and then he adopts this girl and he just becomes the biggest. Oh my god, I want to go home and be with her. I'm just so bored. I don't like adventuring anymore.
Yeah,
it's like you have to earn money
for her.
It's kind of in the same vein as Comfy Camp, when Dale, the main character, is struggling to learn how to be a father and doting on his adorable little daughter Latina. But then it goes full Sword Art Online when he actually has to go out and make a living.
Like there's a girl who's introduced who's clearly a demon.
Guy.
Yeah. There's a girl who's introduced who's clearly a demon. You're sitting there going, if this was any other series, a harem's about the start.
Yeah, it's like she's wearing the purple outfit. She's got the white hair. She's like with these other demons. She looks very different from them. You're thinking, okay, is she going to be a side character?
Nope.
He just slices right through her and the adventure continues.
I mean, this isn't for...
And then it cuts back to Latina making delicious shepherd's pie.
Delicious shepherd's pie. No, look, I mean, this is a show that really kind of subverts what you expect. You go, oh, they're going to do this? Nah, that's not happening. Oh, Dale's going to have to go on a big adventure. Is that going to take a few episodes and he's going to, go off and then bring back more children or something? No, he'll just come back with lots of presents.
It's
so many presents.
Yeah, it's like he'll go away, but you'll get like an episode in the meantime of Latina learning to like make some friends, and she's going to school for her first time.
And the chef, who's like not nice to anyone, makes her jelly.
Yeah, it's so good. Look, I'm going to give this 8 overprotective adventurers out of 10.
Mm-hmm. I'm giving this 8 shepherd's pies made with love out of 10.
Aw.
This is adorable and lovely. 8 tiny oni horns out of 10.
I love how this keeps happening. Like, we'll get all these awesome, amazing animes, but then we'll just fall in love with these adorable little things like Cupcake Cat.
I think clearly, like, our interest in anime is too similar. So all the listeners are like, "Can you tell us something different?" Sorry, guys.
Nope.
We're just going to be honest with what we love, and this is it. Now, this next one is To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts. And we did talk about this earlier in the season. We've yet to completely finish it because there's still 2 episodes left to air at the time of recording, I believe. It's enjoyed some really good character development.
See, I'm not so sure about that myself.
Yeah.
The adventures of Hank and Charles, they seem to lack any real payoff for me. But don't get me wrong, the first few episodes really present an interesting world and a very fascinating premise. After a while, though, it kind of felt like Monster of the Week for me.
You kind of feeling fairy gone from it?
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the thing to sort of redeem the whole modern fantasy / war era thing, but it kind of didn't do it for me.
See, it feels like it kind of wants to be Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, with that sort of environment where it's it's modern, but there are elements of fantasy and magic involved in it.
Exactly.
But it just kind of feels... Like, don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed it and I've enjoyed the character development, but it feels like they got to about episode 6 and that just stopped.
Pretty much.
Now, from what I can remember, I think the last episode I saw was just after she joins Hank.
So it was I think the last one the 3 of us watched together was, and I'm guessing you probably haven't watched any on your own, is the bridge episode with the giant turtle guy.
See, I don't remember that very well.
Yeah.
Or even, actually,
I don't think they were on a train. And then there was one of the beasts had then, transformed and wanted to see the ocean before he died.
Yes, I remember that.
After that, it just kind of starts lulling.
So that is the point at which I left it. So for me, I don't think I've seen what you guys have seen that have made you sort of drop your enthusiasm for it.
No, that's fair.
I find that there's some real gravitas to this storytelling. It doesn't feel contrived to me, what the plot is, or the characters. So I'm giving it 8 Wolverine's final forms out of 10 so far. I mean, once I watch more of it, who knows, that might change.
Fair enough. I'm going to give it 6 Underworlds out of 10 for now.
I'm going to give it 5.5 evil eyebrows out of 10.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Well said.
Which, of course, brings us to the last one for this part.
Wasteful Days of High School Girls.
Now, I got really into this at the start of the season.
This one's crazy.
It is great. It is fast-paced, quick-fire jokes, gag after gag after gag.
It's quirky and
I love it.
Funny.
I definitely like the side characters over the main character, Baka. She lives up to her name and wholeheartedly, and it's a bit frustrating at times. You're like, I realize you're meant to be an idiot, but this is taking it a step too far.
I feel like having the idiot as the side character is kind of the foil, like Caboose from Red vs. Blue.
Yeah, exactly. But in the case where you have the main character as the idiot, all the side characters shine. And every single one of them is well-defined, have their traits. I mean, they're almost stereotypes, but they're just a bit off.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it as well. It really reminds me of how ridiculous high school relationships, friendships, whatever, could be. And there's some part of me that really relates to Baka. I don't know what part that is, but there's something about it.
I wish my high school was as crazy as this.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about lying down in a store waiting for your friends to pull you away?
Honestly,
that was that episode
kind of resonated. I didn't ever do that, but there was some
but there was
outlandish
the impulse to
stuff
do it.
No, that's fine.
I just can't bring it to mind right
now. Well, look,
I
think, I mean, I can't remember what the status on whether this was getting dubbed or not, but depending on how well it translates for the dub is going to be the big question, because if this translates well into a dub, and there are a lot of cultural jokes in here, so how they adapt them, this could be a really good one for like dub audiences as well, because it's quick-fired, it's fast-paced, everything's explained.
Reminds me a little of Azumanga Daioh and Nichijou.
Oh yeah, the My Ordinary Life or whatever.
Yes,
it is.
the one where a teacher suplexes a deer.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, it's like it's got the school life thing going on, the relationships between these people, but then there's just like the reality breaking.
Madness.
What the heck is going on here? Stuff that happens.
I'm going to give it 7 annoying main characters out of 10.
It gets 9 Bakas out of 10 for me because there's just something about it.
Baka, 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 baka.
7 character archetypes out of 10.
That's fair enough. Well, that leads us to our third track, and it's another one by Romi. This is the opening for Dr. Stone, one of the big shonen episodes this season.
Love this anime.
It's called Good Morning World by Burnout Syndrome.
Ohayo Sekai, good morning world. どれほど丸いたろ足の痛みだけがその距離を物語る長い夜を越えた絶景への期待が今日僕を生かしている神々の霊峰新緑の宮殿岩窟の際を早急の果て踏破してみせる限界はない腰の隅々までおはよう世界 Good morning world 不可能の闇を払って神話の日常に変えていくオディセイ貢献結び石に導かれ世界を広げようどれほど間違っても群れのことだけはこの命をたえる幾億幾兆の分岐が紡ぎ出さただ一つの今を不甘い迷いかけてゆく不安の雨に打たれても旧世の英雄博愛の賢者伝統の光景革命の騎手なんだってなれる敵はない人の半分は水おはよう世界 Good morning world 絶望の海を渡って神帝の地へ心を照らすサザンクロース輝く石さす方角へ世界を広げよう 未知なる道を基地に弱点をチャームポイントに幼き夢を現実に愛を力に変えて進もう明日はいつだって前人未到の卑怯なその英知と勇気が生きている証 Yeah おはよう世界 Good morning world 不可能の闇を払って神話を日常に変えていくオディセイ一歩ずつ石を動かすようなこの歩みで世界を広げようさあ今日も人間は始めよう
Yes, that was the cover of Good Morning World by Burnout Syndrome, but done by Romi. I think he also got another musician called Matty, which is Matttyy. He's a guitarist YouTuber. He's very good. So,
Did that guy just want the name Matty, but someone else had already taken it?
well, it's not Xbox Live, so probably not. But once again, Romi and Matty, what an incredible cover. Thank you so much.
Well done, guys.
We love your work.
We'll be right back after this.
Kawaii-Fi Radio. Why do we watch that?
Definitely in my top 5.
Season in review.
And we're at the chonky end of the show. It is time for the big hitters, our three
chonkiest
favourites. And we're going to start off with a show that I was talking about, I think almost in like our second or third episode because of the manga. And that's Astra Lost in Space.
And it's you hyped it right up. You gave it a lot of hype.
I did.
Totally lived up to the hype.
It delivered.
It went further than the hype.
Yeah, I did. It's so hard not to actually spoil it for you when we're watching it. It's like
the amount of times she's like, "Oh yeah," in a knowing voice, and we were like, "We know you know."
Is this going to happen? Sure, we can go with that.
When it's an anime that Kyle is really, really into. He is the worst person to watch anime with because
I'm not that bad.
If it's an anime that you love and have seen before us or have read ahead of in the manga, you're just like,
well, it's because I'm excited because I know you're in for a treat.
Yes.
Now, Astra Lost in Space is based on the manga of the same name. It actually won the Manga Taisho Awards a couple of years ago. It's finished, completed, and the anime itself does the whole thing. The whole story in the 12 episodes is allocated, albeit the first and last episodes are 48 minutes long. The others are the normal 22, 24-minute episodes. And it covers a story of a group of school students who go on school camp and then get teleported and stranded in space and have to make their way home.
Let's be clear, this is set in a future where their camping trip is on another planet.
McPa, which sounds like a McDonald's ad.
They're taken there on a ship. They are left
interesting,
alone,
that
and it said, okay, you will be camping on this planet for a couple of weeks. Have fun, but then suddenly they are transported across the universe.
And it's a great story. There's really well-developed characters. The music is really good as well. I loved everything about it because I'm a massive space nerd.
I just it went into kind of like not really hard sci-fi, but important things to know about being lost in space is you've got to have food and water, and so their main concern is traveling to places where they can gather resources to survive the trip to the next resource grab.
And because their parents have each, not all of their parents, but most of their parents have each trained them
in their respective skills.
Yeah, in quite a lot of, or they've picked stuff up from their parents. Quite a lot of them are rather accomplished, so they have to sort of rely on this knowledge to get back home.
Yeah, they kind of fit into an individual role. Like one of them is a pretty accomplished pilot. He's
one of them's a botanist.
Yeah, exactly. One of them has some knowledge of medicine.
Yeah, because her mum's a doctor.
One's an inventor. And honestly, it's
great.
We watched the ending today, and I was in tears.
Yeah,
it's absolutely wonderful. This show.
It covers everything. It finishes off. It ties it in a nice little bow, and you're sitting there going, "But I still want more."
You know what? I got to disagree with you that. It's like people are going to watch this and think, "Oh, I want more time with these characters," but
it doesn't need more.
I feel like it was wrapped up just perfectly. It does say that the adventure continues, of course, in some kind of a way that is different from what we know, but
that was such a good
feels
story.
right.
And it's well wrapped up. You can probably guess that my review of this is going to be very high because of the hype I had around it, and I'm giving it 10 wormholes out of 10.
Well, I'm going to give it 10 arms out of 10.
Oh. That is that a spoiler?
No, it's fine.
That's
just
fine.
watch it. Just watch it.
Watch it. You'll get it in the last episode.
What's yours, Kenny?
Generally, I don't like to give a full 10 out of 10 until I've seen an ending and am satisfied with it. It's one of the things I can't stand in a lot of books and media is that the ending will just leave me wanting. No. This is a full 10 plot twists out of 10.
Oh, yep. That's a fair
Nice.
call.
And that's about the amount of plot twists there is.
Yeah, one for every episode.
None that I actually saw coming.
I'm glad. I was worried because Kenny in particular is really good at picking up when the plot twist is coming, and they caught you a few offside times. Didn't they?
A bunch of times. Like, I figured a couple, but then just get one that just knocks you around the side of the head and you go, wait, what?
Yep.
oh, we're doing that? Okay.
So next up is Carol and Tuesday.
Now, we were pretty hyped about this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's now on
considering
Netflix.
We almost missed it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we had to use a friend's Japanese Netflix account to log in.
You know that the number of proper sponsors that this show has, I'm not that surprised that it's ended up on Netflix.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got actually quite a lot of, product
backing.
placement. But it actually, I don't know why, but unlike, other ones where it seems like they're pushing it in your face, it just kind of makes the world feel more real.
Yeah, I feel like that's the main trick of it. If it's like James Bond or the Avengers, something like that, the car ads are sort of blatant. They're in your face. You see what it is. In something like this, it's a bit more subliminal. Drink Coke. And you don't really notice it until you sort of look back at things.
Yeah.
True.
True.
Make sure you share and like this on Instagram and Facebook because that's everything that they do in the show.
Pretty much. That's how they make their way, I suppose. Now, we've already mentioned about this show. It's about two girls, friends, and they're making music together.
It's 50 years in the future and it's set on Mars. Basically, music is only made by AI.
Yeah.
Now,
but
the first 12 episodes of this is now on Netflix. The next 12 is coming November or October. They haven't confirmed the official release date yet, but it's a 24 act story, all original content, so you can be sure it will have a very solid end. And the director is the same director and writer who did Cowboy Bebop. So, big chops there.
And we've talked about this on a prior episode. I think it was
length.
Yeah, it was the end of last year's season as well.
Not last year's.
Sorry.
Last season,
wow.
I believe.
Have we been going for a year already? That's impressive.
Time has passed fast.
Have we actually?
No, it's not that.
Yet.
It's not that long. This is only episode 18. We've got a couple of 3-4 months left.
But yeah, we've highly recommended it before, and nothing has changed.
That still stands.
It is still great.
And
it's still great.
I mean, I would like to catch up on it.
Yeah, well, we've got to wait for those 12 episodes to drop on
is true.
Netflix because, you can only use a friend's Netflix account for so long before
exactly.
there's a problem.
Yeah, I'm going to give this 8 shameless Insta plugs out of 10.
Oh, yeah, because there is the whole Instagram supporting it, isn't there? I'm going to give it 9 concerts out of 10 because I'm not very inventive.
You're fine.
You know what? 8 product placements out of 10. Drink Coke.
You're really going with that, aren't you?
I have no idea what you drink Coke mean. I'm just talking about subliminal advertising.
Yes, of course. All right. The next one.
Coke.
Oh, no.
Drink Cloak, everyone.
This next one is one that me and Kenny really were quite excited for.
Copcraft.
Which is essentially just Lethal Weapon with magic.
Pretty much.
I loved it. It was great. We're still waiting on the last 2 episodes to drop, which will be... I think this weekend and next weekend, and then that's it. But it's every 4 episodes is a film worth, and it's great.
Pretty much. I remember old school forum posts and writing prompt things which say, okay, blend 2 unlikely characters together and end it with together they fight crime. This is exactly that.
It is, a down and dark detective who's lost his partner and a spunky girl from another dimension. Together, they fight crime.
And it just...
magic.
Frankly, it works. It doesn't feel like 2 stars have just been, ham-fistedly smashed together to make something just crazy. No, it feels like this is a living, breathing world that is reacting and evolving to new stimulus.
And the fact that they clearly had an idea going into this, this is how we're going to do the story arc, and they're very well contained within those episodes. So that you might have 3 or 4 episodes, and then you'll have a little bit of a time gap where clearly they've been off solving crime together, and then it'll continue, and here's the new story, which is overarching across the next 4 episodes. And it continues the whole way through.
It's exactly what you said. Every 3-4 episodes is just another Lethal Weapon movie.
Exactly. Lethal Weapon 1, 2, and 3.
Exactly.
It's such a great
Number 4
throwback.
will be the promos.
It's true.
Maybe they'll do a film. I would love to watch a
I reckon
Copcraft
they
film.
might. I do feel like we watch films, like you said, every 4 episodes is a film sort of length, but I would watch a film of this.
No, this is 80s. It screams 80s, 90s. It's
70s
not
even.
Yeah,
it's a little 70s, 80s cop shows. I like it.
What is it? Miami Vice, number 1 new show?
There's Dragnet. influences and everything.
Well, yeah, because even one of the episodes is called Dragnet, isn't it?
I think the
think
episodes
it's the
are actually
first.
named after old school kind of cop dramas and stuff like that.
That would make a lot of sense
Yeah.
now that I think about it.
I give this 7 fluffy cats out of 10. There's a tiny bit of misplaced fan service, and that's where it lost marks for me.
Yep, that's fair enough. I'm giving it 8 80s films out of 10. And that's it's just because I haven't finished it yet. And as you said, if we haven't seen the end, it's a bit hard to award full marks. And there are still a few things I want them to tie up.
And that's exactly why I'm awarding it 9 buddy cop films out of 10. When I see the ending, I'm pretty sure I'm going to give it a 10. I love this.
Yep,
Lovely.
This is my aesthetic, as the cool kids say.
The cool kids. We are real hip with the cool kids.
Oh, we are so funky fresh.
We are. I know all about that Tapper talk thing, or is it TikToky, or I think that's dead already.
I
actually.
wish to interject that these microphones feel really cool when you slowly, like really slightly sort of
You
squeeze them.
just squeeze in the microphones.
It just feels kind of cool.
I'm not
going to
ask what they feel like.
This has been a
Don't.
random interjection by Coco.
Well done. Anyway, Dr. Stone, my lordy.
Oh, hi, Yosukai.
Good
Morning world.
This
I've
has
had
been
that song in my head all week.
This has been a great adventure.
It has.
Yes.
And we've got 12 more episodes coming.
Woohoo!
So Dr. Stone, along with a couple of others, which we'll mention when we get to them, are actually going for the full 24-length episode run. So they're only hitting their halfway point at the moment, and that's great.
I feel like it's not enough.
It's not.
I mean, the whole thing about this guy is he wants to rebuild civilization and science as quickly as possible, and I feel like 24 episodes isn't enough.
I just hope it continues. I know the manga's got over 130 chapters last check, but they're burning through them pretty quick. So, like, about 5 chapters an episode almost. Yeah.
Oh, crikey.
Because it's a weekly shonen manga, so obviously, you know, they go for the shorter length, like 18 to 15 pages per chapter.
Now, my math is bad, but I don't think you could get another 24-episode season out of that.
I think they're going to be cutting it close. Either way, it does mean that we're going to get a lot more of awesomeness. I mean, I'm pretty keen to watch Senku and his mates do all sorts of random stuff, and I really like the storyline they've got going with the village, with Chrome and all the other people.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. I love an anime which gives me a bit of an education, which tells me some facts about the universe I'm in and how it can be applied. And that is the important thing, is that it shows you the application of these ideas, of this science, exactly how it can improve life in a primitive kind of setting.
Actually, I think Crunchyroll had a quiz up on one of their pages where you could actually fill out the quiz and find out how well you'd survive in Dr. Stone.
I'd love to do that quiz.
I didn't do well.
Oh.
I thought I would have done well, but I
don't-
failed on like some of the very fundamental things.
Honestly, I feel like I do okay, but that's just because I know mirrors are important. Literally, I don't feel like now I think of it.
I'll be stuffed.
Yes, shameless self-promotion. I reckon I'd do pretty okay.
Yeah.
I come from the south in the bush, and me and my mates used to always just head out into the middle of the thicket of it and just chop down trees, make cubby houses, and like throw spears at fish in lakes.
And you know,
It was awesome. We
Yeah.
would always miss.
And I guess you know what can be eaten from the fields and what can't be.
I know what can't be.
That's a look of utter horror and concern.
Yes, I definitely know what can't be eaten.
I have to say, Dr. Stone fires me up. It does a great job of shonening science.
It does.
And I love how there's constant movement.
Yeah, there's not a lot of static shots. There's always something going on.
Exactly. And everything he does, everything Senku does is just animated so spectacularly. Like, it's like, oh my God, he's done this. Oh, he's done this
It's got
other
a
thing.
serious dose of comedy in it.
I think it's just, I guess, because everything he's doing is for the first time in thousands of years.
And it's, like you said, it's like constantly moving in like a cinematic capacity. The shots are always in motion, but it's also that the characters are always in motion. There is constant progression and growth, which you kind of want in a shonen anime.
Well, we're so used to seeing... I mean, we had a couple of seasons which we've mentioned earlier in this episode where it felt like the characters didn't really grow. And this is the polar opposite. Like, Senku grows... I was a bit frustrated the fact that we had Taiju... kind of disappear for a while as well. It's like, bring him back, come on.
Yeah, get the bros back.
Get the bros back together. The science bros.
There's just pure enjoyment here for me. I'm going to give it 9 bagpipes out of 10.
I still don't understand why they do. If it's bagpipes or if it's like a pan flute or something.
Well, I guess
that.
bagpipes were an early instrument, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it 9 sciences out of 10.
9 exothermic reactions out of 10.
Ooh,
Give me more.
Nice.
Give me more. Fair enough. All right. Well, on the note of exothermic reactions,
Fire Force.
yes.
setting fire to your heart.
Now, this one comes from the same people who made Soul Eater,
Yes,
and it shows.
it does.
They've got a very unique style for designing their characters.
It's very. I did find this a bit unusual. Now, I remember at the beginning of the season, I did say that I struggled a bit with Fire Force, and I
Yeah.
left it on the back burner for quite a while, as did I think both of you.
Pretty much, we figured back
I
burner.
kind of loved it. I loved it from the start.
Oh,
to be
sorry,
honest.
we put a dampener on your
No,
viewing.
you didn't. You didn't.
So we ended up we started rewatching it. I think about 3 weeks ago. Oh, I've been hooked.
Yeah, we
can't
engaged
put
in
it down.
the good old tradition of binge watching,
Yes,
and we burned through it, so to speak.
we're just going with all the puns. We're just giving up.
Oh, we're just firing them off.
Yeah.
Bad.
I-
Have I got a sound effect here? Yeah.
That's the sound of a hot, hot summer's day. Hot like fire.
You know what we needed that for? When you were like, I watched like 9 episodes of my mum's 2 target attacks and I didn't like it. We needed the crickets for then because I'm still like, I'm just like,
I did it for the team. It
I mean,
was
yeah,
not-
man.
I don't know why
Yeah,
I
you-
did it to
you should.
myself. It was just like this dash of hope that I just hoped it would improve, and it never did.
Now, Coco, I mean, to make an admission, I read all of the Twilight books just to know that I would hate them.
I read all the Twilight books actually.
Did you
and,
hate them?
well, I mean, I feel like
It's not
they had
50 Shades.
potential. Yeah, 50 Shades is
That's scraping the barrel
that's
there.
On the subject of
terrifying.
something worth burning, let's go back to Fire Force.
So, if you haven't watched Fire Force or heard of it, if you're fairly new to anime, this is a shonen manga, so aimed at young men, and it's about a special fire brigade fighting a phenomenon called spontaneous human combustions. Humans are literally turning into fire demons, and they now
Yes.
have a special Fire Force department.
Spontaneous human combustion actually comes from like one of those urban legends that
Yeah.
this just happens to people. Not that they turn into like raging fire demons with magical powers, but just occasionally people will just explode.
Like, I just was walking around, and then suddenly, poof, end of the world.
Supposedly there's reports of it, but yeah, in this it amps it up to the nth degree. People turn into like horrors that can burn down worlds.
I think it's a cool idea.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I think it's a
absolutely.
very cool idea
It
for a
also,
story.
as you're getting through the story, you discover that the world has been reshaped because of this phenomenon. And it's like, that's not something normally addressed in these types of shows. It's normally just like,
True.
no, the world's fine, whatever. No, it's not.
I like the characters as well. Like I think when I first saw the cat girl, there's a cat girl. She's
Yeah.
a fire cat girl, but still, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah,
another
pyrokinetics.
one. But then I like how like her personality isn't some sort of stereotypical, oh my god, you fell and accidentally brushed me, you pervert, bang, crash,
Yeah.
attack. She's a bit different.
I think the classic
So
sort
I
of
kinda like that.
tsundere or angry girl who's accidentally been in a perverted situation, beating the guy up, is kind of fading out of fashion now.
I hope so.
So-
It's annoying.
I can't help but wonder, this is sort of going off on another tangent, but when was the last time you saw like the classic stereotype cat girl in an anime?
Ooh.
Like, it's a famous kind of a mainstay thing of anime, isn't it?
I think
I've seen one
outside of isekai, not recently. If we're talking isekai, there's one coming next season. So I mean,
okay.
it's yeah. But I mean,
Danmachi.
yeah. Actually,
yeah, fair point,
No,
yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
fair point. That's this season as well.
Yep,
I
point
completely forgot
point
about that.
addressed.
Yes.
Very well done.
But look, I mean, Fire Force is actually on a break for 2 episodes.
Aw.
Yeah, so episode 12 will not be airing until the October anime season. They also took a break for a week as well during airing due to what happened over in Japan with the arson attack.
Oh,
So
dear.
they actually purposely changed the color palette for the episode for the flames and edited it a week later so that it wasn't to imply the same type of fire. Which,
cool.
really well thought out to address that
it's
very
considerate.
quickly too.
Clearly, the people who make the show care deeply
Yeah.
about what's going on.
One thing I have enjoyed is that the story hasn't got any filler.
Oh, right.
No, it doesn't.
All killer, no filler.
Yeah, that actually that almost makes me anxious. It almost makes me worry. Where the heck is the Hot Springs episode?
Well,
It's
do
in
they-
the outro. I don't know. It's a girl. There's a girl in the outro pouring water over herself. I think that
Is
counts.
there?
That's more showering. That's personal hygiene. That's not Hot Springs.
Still claiming it.
I think like one of my favorite parts about this is are the fight scenes. They
Yeah.
are excellent.
Oh, the choreography.
And it's just
Yeah.
and like you said when we were watching it maybe last week, capoeira.
Yeah, they were
There's
using
capoeira
capoeira.
moves as well as
That's
there's
like the
breakdancing moves
Islander
as well.
breakdancer fighting style, right?
Yeah,
That's
it
gotta
is
be
very
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give this 8 creepy grins out of 10.
Oh yeah, because Shinra's got his creepy grin.
He does.
I'm gonna go with 9 hot potatoes out of 10. This might go to a 10 if it's as good as I hope it will be.
8 epic showdowns.
Ooh.
Because
Oh no, where did that come from? The return of the kazoo. Oh no. Oh no, I shouldn't have said hot potato, should I? Oh,
Just wait
dear.
till he says cold spaghetti.
No, moving right along. Okay, Coco, you can take the lead on this one.
Yes. Oh, Maidens in Your Savage Season
So good.
is one of my favorite. It's just
It's so
I
good.
love it. It's really interesting. I've never seen this kind of care taken in telling a story involving high school girls and
During puberty in particular.
puberty, sex,
yeah,
and sexuality. It's
they're developing sexualities, what it means.
it's pretty confronting. It's pretty intense.
And I don't feel like these stories of theirs are being used as a vehicle for exploitation, more that they are being given the proper gravitas and introspection they deserve.
Well, because we know there's a lot of animes which look at boys in high school. I mean, it's kind of a cliche trope.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that we have a story which focuses on girls and addresses puberty, because it seems like it's almost like a taboo subject.
Yeah, they
in
sort
that
of
regard.
subtle their way around it.
Yeah, for me, it was like it reminded me of high school. Primary school, like sex ed classes, or like where they're saying your body is going through some changes. You may notice some of these. Yeah, it's like you'll notice those, but none of these videos ever tell you about the sheer emotional, confronting issues that come with all of this.
The self-doubt, the concern about yourself or comparing
Exactly,
yourself to
and
others.
I feel like this anime actually does something pretty important in that regard.
It does.
It's well written. I
Yeah.
feel like this is something that someone going through that in that stage of life would actually
They'd really
look at
connect with it.
and really connect to. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, a lot of their inner thoughts and monologues I found relatable as well.
You're probably the only one at this table right now who could relate to it.
Oh, I don't know. Like, did you guys feel like it was relatable as men?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was interesting when they were showing like some of the guys' thoughts as well. And you're going, oh yeah, that's sort of the stuff I went through.
that
and-
checks out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wicked.
So yeah, look, I've loved it, and I'm gonna give it 9 emotional dramas out of 10.
Yeah.
Potentially 10 if it hits all the spots I want it to.
It gets 9 awkward high school experiences out of 10 for me.
Ooh.
I only got to see a few episodes of this before the subtitles on my VLC player broke down on me. And despite all the times I hid my head going, oh God, no, don't say that, I really want to watch more of this. I'm giving this 7 awkward conversations with your parents out of 10.
Oh no.
It's making me think, what is the most awkward conversation? Oh, no, I don't want to think about it.
I think actually, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Foxtel over here in Australia who had an ad about like parents watching Game of Thrones with their kids and like super awkward. And it's like, get multi-room. Kids are watching in a different room or on their laptop or something, and the parents are just like, well, this is awkward. And the kids are like,
Yeah,
That is a
would be
fantastic
awkward.
ad.
It's a well thought out ad. It's just a shame that their service is terrible. So, Teasing Master Takagi, Season 2. This is my jam.
It is, isn't it?
I've been following the manga. I'm reading the side stories. I've got one of the books over there, some of the figurines. This touches my heart.
Are
in
you going to
all
be
the right
buying
ways.
the VR game?
No. No, I can't afford to donate to that. I
You
should
know
probably
that
check
if he
it's
had
going
the
well.
ways.
If I had
and
the monies, I
means.
would.
You know, Coco, I don't believe he's telling us the truth.
You know what, Kenny? I think that we need to play the crickets. Play the crickets.
This isn't fair.
Feel our judging stares.
I can feel the judging stares.
Feel them.
But I don't care.
Take
Feel
them
them.
in. Take it all in.
I've taken it all in, and I
Absorb
don't care
them.
because TC Master Takagi is an amazing show, and
I
it's
think
a
he's
real
getting a little bit
interesting.
warm. Look at him.
Oh.
I think you're blushing.
Oh
You're
no, that means I lost the
blushing a little.
game. I lost
Oh,
the game from
no.
TC Master
Shush.
Takagi. There we go.
Shush.
We
So-
just lost our tiny subscriber base. Thanks, you, Kyle.
So, TC Master Takagi Season 2 follows on directly from the first season of the show. It's about middle schooler Nishikata, and he gets constantly teased by Takagi-san, voiced by Rei Takahashi. Once again, amazing voice actress. Lots of respect to her. She's awesome.
Absolutely.
And his pride is regularly shattered, and this story just continues that. It's very slice of life. Not much happens, but you gradually see them growing closer over the course of the season
His
and
pri-
questioning things about puberty and
his
girls.
pride really shatters.
It
And
does.
it's every day.
And there's also a adult version of the manga, not as in like, adult
For
rated.
adults.
It's when they are adults,
Yeah.
when they're all grown up. And
Their
there's-
relationship seems to continue.
Yeah, and there's a scene, I think it was about episode 6 or 7, where you actually see the older version of Takagi looking through their yearbook, and you just see her smile. But you know it's her as an adult. And you're like, oh, we got to see this season. We've got one episode left. Now, I have to be honest, this is not available through normal streaming services. I once again borrowed a Netflix Japan login to access it.
We
and
thank
then-
our
was given
bros in
thankfully.
Japan.
Well, I had
Yes.
to get the actual translated, the subtitles written down, and then had to pair them up on the time codes. And yeah, I'm a bit obsessed with this show.
The labour
but
of love.
This will all be on Netflix by the end of the month, apparently. So then I
Wonderful.
can watch it all again, which makes me very happy.
Our Netflix, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Australian Netflix,
You-
Aussie Netflix.
I really like how more and more anime is coming to Netflix, with some exceptions.
Well, as long as Netflix are not doing the translation, it tends to be good. And as long as they're not doing the funding for it, as long as it's kind of a partnership, it works out well.
Yeah.
But when it goes all internal at Netflix, it tends to go wrong. So that
There's been some pretty good Netflix products. Take Dark Crystal. I know you guys haven't seen it yet, but
that's not anime.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of my point. When it comes to anime, they do tend to mess it up. I mean, like, I really did enjoy like Revisions from a couple of seasons back, but it had some very glaring flaws, especially to do with the animation style, which if it was a studio that wasn't related with Netflix, wouldn't have happened. Because
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But look, TC Master Takagi, it's comedy, it's romance. I'm a massive romance fan when it comes to my manga and my
It's
stories.
consistently adorable.
It's consistently adorable and heartwarming. I will happily give this straight away 10 long-winded romances out of 10 because, it was getting nothing but, even though I don't know how it's going to end yet. So,
I'm going to give it 8 indirect kisses out of 10.
Ooh.
I missed the second season.
Well, yeah, you, let's be honest. You're not going to go and log into Netflix Japan and then,
This sort of thing isn't really my jam.
No, it's not.
This is more for you. I will say it's 6 critical hits out of 10. It's just, it's not my thing.
From what you've seen watching over my shoulder every
yeah.
now and then. Yeah. Well, that brings us to the last show of the season.
And certainly not the least.
This is probably the most talked about show this season, outside of Given, because Given's obviously talked about for a different reason. Vinland Saga. This is not a show you should wait to watch. Watch it now.
Just
Get yourselves an Amazon account and watch it.
Yep.
Use the 30-day 3 Prime Plus. Just get on there and watch it. My God.
I'm not allowed to swear on air, but Coco, hit the censor button. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Okay.
Wonderful. I think you said it very well.
Yes, you did. It was
Everyone will
quite
agree.
abrasive, but to the point.
Yeah, it's okay, similar to Nobunaga. If you know a little about Viking history,
Yeah.
certain names are going to come up and you're just going to be like, oh.
Is that who I think it is? Yeah, like especially like if you've watched the Vikings TV show in particular, you're going to notice a lot of commonality between names and locations and people.
Leif
Even
Erikson,
Norsemen.
Floki, Ragnar the Red. It's
Not
just...
that we could talk about Norsemen, but we'd spend the entire episode about it. For those wondering, Norsemen is a show on Netflix which is set in Sweden with Vikings, but the Vikings are modern day Swedes, so they're very polite. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it's sort of got a bit of a Monty Python-ness to it, where it's sort of like they take the modern kind of variants of themselves and put them in a savage past just to see what kind of hilarity would ensue.
Anyway, back to Vinland Saga.
This is absolutely not that. This is bloodthirsty and wonderful.
I
glorious.
love watching him age and
Yeah.
get better as he's...
Thorfinn.
Yeah.
And this is also the same. This is only 12 episodes out of 24. So that's...
We're in for more of a ride.
We are. The manga itself has got over like 200 chapters, I think, last check.
Oh, yes, that means a lot more.
Yeah, so I think this, because this is also done by Wit Studios, the guys who do Attack on Titan. And if you've seen the third season of Attack on Titan, especially the latter half of it, you'll notice that the animation budget kind of went up a bit. This then takes that to the next logical step in as far as like, I mean, it's not the same style, but the quality of animation has just taken another massive leg up.
Just the fluidity of the movement, the way light catches on grass and flowers and blood. It's, it's a feast.
Yeah.
It's a visual feast.
It is. I have to say as well, Vegeta's in it.
Vegeta.
Yeah.
You decided he's Vegeta.
He's just so similar. There's so much of I'm talking about Askeladd,
Yeah.
the mercenary leader. He's very similar in a few ways to Vegeta.
He does
in
have a
my
bit
opinion.
of a Vegeta vibe.
Like
He's-
not in like the
Yeah, because
Wait.
he's such
the
a
planet,
villain.
the person, the king,
the prince.
the prince. Okay.
The Prince of All Saiyans.
You didn't just do
I
that.
didn't do anything.
No.
He's very similar. Not only I just love the fact that like when he's enjoying something, like
You feel it.
you can.
He is totally the villain, but
Yeah.
You love him.
you can't help but want him and Thorfinn to develop more of a working relationship, despite everything that says they absolutely won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we know where that's going. And look, I think I mentioned a couple of months ago when I heard this was getting adapted, I knew the hype around it in the manga community already, and it's played out.
I think I actually, I remember back when I met you and we were just sort of finding random manga stuff on random forums and stuff. I brought up a picture and I was just
did.
What is this from? It looks so
And
hilarious.
we didn't know at the time.
It was a bunch of Vikings carrying their enormous longboats across a field, charging at an enemy. It's just like...
And we were just like, oh, this must be to do with that, I want to be closer. Take me closer so I can hit them with my sword.
Exactly.
No, it was this.
And it just
was Vinland.
It just came out of nowhere in one of the episodes. It was just like, oh my
That's that
god.
thing.
It was amazing. It was. And they were both like, we've seen this. We know this.
It's old Greg.
Made it no less glorious, of course.
No, of course. And
It's true.
look, I can't wait to watch more of it. I think I might actually watch some tonight before bed. But I will give this very happily 9 Viking invasions out of 10. And if it goes as good as the manga goes and it sticks to it, the core story, it might be a 10.
9 berserker mushrooms out of 10.
Oh, that's a weird scene. It's not like there was this whole scene about him
Yeah.
eating the mushroom and then it just hasn't happened for like 8 episodes.
He hasn't needed to, I guess. Yeah, they haven't encountered a troll.
It's a rare
Troll!
thing. And there is actually a story of a Viking holding back so many British invaders on a bridge by his lonesome after just eating 1 mushroom. And he just... I believe the final count was he
Crazy
died
mushrooms over
after
there.
killing 75 of them.
That's pretty impressive kill count.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Especially during Sword and Shield era. So yeah.
I'm giving this 9 Etterstoops out of 10.
Oh no. Kids, don't Google the Etterstoop.
Watch Norsemen instead.
Yes. It's to do with throwing yourself to death.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
For
it-
honor.
it's- yeah, well,
Glory.
it's to spare your family the burden of looking after you in your old age.
Yes, but I don't think we really need to do that. I mean, we could just leave the village
It's like,
and then it would be
but
fine.
I'm 47, he said.
I'm actually
not that old.
It's not that old. No, it's not. Well,
Not at all.
can you just leave and not come back? Oh yeah, we'll do that. We'll go set up our own village on the other side of the mountain. Very nice.
You know what? I feel like this is giving me an idea.
Oh yeah. That's
Thank you for the fanfare.
okay.
Honestly, is my having an idea so rare a thing that it needs fanfare?
I just want an excuse to play the kazoo.
I'm hurt,
and
Coco.
It's out of my range to get it off you at the moment. Okay,
Yes, it
so
is.
your idea, please elaborate.
So, we take audio clips from that show Norseman. We put it over the animated clips
From Vinland
from
Saga.
Vinland Saga.
You mean like an AMV?
We should do this a lot more.
All right, let's
should.
give this a try.
All right,
I'm
keep an eye on
keen.
our Facebook page and YouTube. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. We might put together our own Kawaii-Fi AMV hell type thing.
We'll talk over the
We might.
podcasts.
Yeah, it'll be a good laugh.
may do.
Anyway, moving right along because we have to play our last track for the show. No, not a last track, second last track. We'll get the last one in a minute. This is by Romi again, and this is the theme from Vinland Saga. It's by the band Survive Said the Prophet, who are now on my Spotify playlist and getting played a lot. And it's Mukanjyo, which is the opening theme for the story.
To sink or swim 生き残るために Dog eat dog world だと言い聞かせ What went wrong What went wrong Survival of the fittest 弱肉強食 If it's the world or a wisdom we lead Well tell me what went wrong What went wrong I've paid my dues I've sold my soul So tell me what is left for me When I've given up everything ねえ問いかけたんだろうどの景色を見ても何も感じなかったよね考え直してもあの景色を求めていた僕は無感情だろう強いと言われるものには責任という名の鎖をつけ What went wrong弱いと言われてきた人たちはただ踏み潰されてく世の中 What went wrong We've paid our dues We've sold our souls So tell me what is left for us When we've given up everything ねえ問いかけたんだろうどの景色を見ても何も感じなかったよね考え直してもあの景色を求めていた僕は無感情だろう Just really ice sky モラルも正義もクソくらいだ正しい奴らが見せるただどうにか壊してしまう戦術楽なバランスと持ち殺すか殺されるかの全部けな世界なのかよ誰か答えてみてくれよねえ問いかけたんだろうどの景色を見ても何も感じなかったよね考え直してもあの景色を求めていた僕は無感情なのねえ問いかけたんだろうあの景色を見ても何も感じなかったよあの景色を求めていた僕は無感情だろう
Wi-Fi radio.
Why do we watch that?
Definitely in my top 5.
Season in review.
Yes, we're at the end of the gauntlet now. Big thank you to Romi for 3 of his tracks this time around. I mean, let's be honest, it's easy to ask him because his music is always so good.
Count the copyright strikes. 1, 2, 3 copyright strikes. Romy, stop being so amazing.
Yeah,
No,
mate, like-
don't. Please don't.
Actually,
Don't listen.
if any of our listeners are in the US, please do check out Romi because he also does like anime convention performances, like live in LA.
Wicked.
He just had one last month, actually, and the footage from it is on his Facebook page, and it's wow.
Okay, checking that out after this.
Yeah, definitely. We are on to the movies. Now, unfortunately, not a lot of the movies that we talked about did get Western releases. One in particular did, and we'll come to that. Well, two actually did. The first one we did talk about was Dan MattyyyM movie Arrow of the Orion, which we didn't actually end up getting a chance to see. Like we almost got our tickets sorted, and then we all had stuff on that night, and then it was no longer being shown.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah. Human Lost is another big one, which we mentioned in our season preview. That one still hasn't actually had its official showing. It has had a showing at like sort of like a film festival event in Canada, I think, but it hasn't had the official American release or Australian or Asia release yet either. And we knew that was going to get released in America before it actually released in Japan. So that will be probably something we'll talk about in the next quarter. But that does bring us to Konosuba, Legend of Crimson. Don't know why I was going to say Crystal. And this still hasn't showed up here yet. We do know it's actually airing in America for like one day in November.
What?
Hopefully that one day will count for the people who wish to see it.
Yes, and that's in November the 10th or the 8th or around that point in time. But everything we've heard about it so far is actually really quite nice because we know, look, this is at a point where Konosuba's actually changed studios for its production. I think it went from Studio D into JC staff or the other way around. And everyone was really concerned about the quality of the animation and how it might happen. To be honest, we didn't think we were going to get any more Konosuba. And by the sounds of it, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, from what I've heard, that this movie is basically just a really, really long another episode.
Yeah, and I believe it adapts like the light novel volume 5, so the whole thing, which sets around, I think it's about 90 minutes. They reckon. No one's actually listed the runtime online anywhere, and it's been out in Japan cinemas for about 4 weeks now.
Hey, it's more Konosuba. I don't mind.
No, I'm not going to complain either. But look, when it does end up coming out, we'll make sure we have it in the news so everyone knows where they can go and watch it. Because I will give it 10 explosions out of 10 because I haven't even seen it, but I'm hyped. It's going to be good.
More Konosuba is good Konosuba.
Yes. Which actually brings us to a Lupin story which is out at the moment. So this is a bit frustrating. So Lupin the Third, Fujiko Mine's Lie. This is the third film of that set. You know how they did like a new series of Lupin films which were more mature, a bit darker, different art style, kind of set on the style of the short series they did, Fujiko, the lady named Fujiko Mine
as well.
So they've done all three of Lupin's companions now. And the DVD and Blu-ray were meant to land in September or August. That's only in Japan. We still haven't received it over here. And even though they have organized the release dates and all that with the international groups, it just keeps getting pushed back. So we can't tell you much about it, which is really disappointing. What I can tell you is it's going to be good because all the reviews, I think Anime News Network had a guy over there who went and saw it in the cinemas and said it was incredible. Like it's exactly what you expect.
Yes.
So
awesome.
I'm keen. Which brings us to the big one, which could be the big one for this year. And we all saw this in the cinema a few weeks ago. We did mention it on the program. I loved it.
Weathering with You. And look, I still I have my notes from it from last time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
These are the same notes, Kenny.
Yes.
There's nothing written here.
There are no words.
Crying out loud.
That was
every time.
It was an emotionally harrowing experience and it was wonderful and I was so happy.
I know.
I was actually dreaming the other day, like just daydreaming about the way that the office that he finds himself in is that little underground office, how it was drawn, how beautiful it was, even though it was like this sort of shabby place.
And then what it looks like at the end.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure everything's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Just the way that this is done from a filmmaking perspective. The way it just uses film language, camera angles, montage, every little thing that they teach you in film school it feels like it's been mastered for this.
It has.
I'm talking a lot of hype about it, but wow.
It is a good film, and like especially if you're coming in from like a film language background, like if you've studied film or you're quite passionate about your movies and all that, you'll notice subtle things that you wouldn't see in other animes, such as like shifts in the plane of view from like something in the background coming into focus, which is from an animation point of view very hard to do.
Yeah, the way it uses like focus and stuff like that in a medium which is hand drawn or just animated, it just constantly blows my mind. And this is just another one to add to the list of the very few animes that I've seen in cinema. I was like, I think you and I were talking about this earlier. Like, what was the first anime that we saw on a big screen?
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to rule out the first one I saw, which was Pokemon the first movie, because I don't think that technically counts.
I think it does, because I saw it too. I'm going to count it.
I feel like that counts. That was very international for its thing, but like, yeah, I feel like the only one which I really saw recently was the Broly movie.
Yeah, which we did at the beginning of the year.
And
we saw Resurrection F.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh yeah, you and I went and saw that a few years back. Yeah.
And then I saw Akira thanks to a special screening, and to see that on the big screen is just unbelievable. And then this and just
I think Weathering with You, much like Your Name, is one of those films that really benefits from the big screen experience. You are still going to enjoy it at home.
Absolutely.
Like, we've rewatched Your Name before we actually went to see Weathering with You, and wow, it really. They're both phenomenal films. And
it translates well on any size. Well, it'd be good to have a decent sized screen, but it will just come straight out no matter what and capture you.
Actually, there's a lot of argument online of which is the better one, Your Name or Weathering with You. Like, which one is superior?
I think they're both equal, but in different veins. Weathering with You is the characters aren't as strong as the ones in Your Name. They are strong. All of Makoto Shinkai's characters are strong, but the focus is more on the world than it is necessarily on the characters, whereas Your Name is definitely a focus on the interaction of two characters more strongly than it is on the world.
A very unorthodox interaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like for me, I think they're both equal, but just a different way of storytelling. Because I mean, if you're trying to split hairs, you're going to be disappointed. So just enjoy them.
Ever tried to split a hair?
No, I've heard about people doing it with like really sharp knives.
Yeah, why would you?
Because like, look at how cool I am. I split a hair, and then everyone goes, "No, that just makes you really petty."
And as far as like how we've been talking about this, I've been talking about it from like filmmaking academic point of view. We've been talking about it as sort of like critics of the art of that sort of thing, but. The thing about Makoto Shinkai's movies is they're so accessible. Anyone can watch them and just be enchanted.
And Weathering with You, I know our listeners in the States won't have had a chance to watch it yet, but there will be some opportunities in November, I believe, according to a couple of film festivals that are going to be out in LA and New York.
Save the date, Americans.
Yep, and Canada's already had it showing. I believe G Kids, who are doing the dub, have organised it for February for their release in cinemas. But
wow.
That's apparent. That's from a press release. It's not from directly on their Twitter or anything where they've announced it. So whether that's meant to be an internal document or not, we don't know.
I hate that. Everyone has to wait at variable times for something like this. It's just,
It was actually, when we went and saw it in the cinema, we did notice, Australia's a very multicultural place, but, we're in Western Australia and it's a little bit less multicultural than you'd say Sydney or Melbourne. And the cinema was full, and it was either people like ourselves who have a strong love of anime or people who'd immigrated from Japan. And it was just like, wow, this
who
is...
also have a strong love of anime.
Oh, yeah. But it was really nice to see. And it's like, you're so used to going to anime screenings and it's just like the local otaku groups and all that. And while that's great, it's good to see like the same interest from people who, have grown up with this stuff as opposed to people who've glorified it because we've just really enjoyed it.
I feel like it's a different animal though. When it was us going to see with the local otakus Broly.
Yeah.
That's because like that is like a big blockbuster kind of crazy kind of movie.
Yeah,
And
it's something
people
that
have
was the childhood.
And people have grown up with Broly, and they, seeing him brought back to the big screen. you
But
can't
for
say no.
Makoto Shinkai, because that's because anime is deeply ingrained in the Japanese culture, I feel like that's going to see a movie by I want to say perhaps Spielberg.
Yeah.
That's
So Makoto Shinkai and
There's
Ghibli and that sort of stuff are like event type films.
Yeah,
they don't
it's,
come around very often.
There's Coco's favorite word, gravitas. I feel like that applies.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, thank you.
So make sure you do see Weathering with You. Our scores for this are fairly obvious: 10 out of 10. 10 weathers.
I got no witty line for this. It's 10 out of 10.
Yeah, there are.
10 Cloudlands.
10
Out
clouds.
of 10.
You're really
You can
pulled
tell
for that.
yeah.
That works. I think that works.
And to finish off, we do have a song from Weathering with You. Radwimps. Oh God, come on! Radwimps did the music for Your Name, and they were on board again to do the music for Weathering with You. It's a bit of a mellow song, and this is covered by a YouTuber called Rue. You can find him online. I believe he's under singer and guitarist Rue. We'll have the link obviously in the description and above. But have a listen.
愛にできることはまだあるかい何も持たずに生まれ落ちた僕永遠の隙間でのたうち回ってる諦めたものと賢いものだけが勝者の時代にどこで息を吸う支配者も神もどこか他人顔だけど本当は分かってる味勇気や希望や絆とかの間を近い道もなく大人は目を背けるそれでもあの日の君が今もまだ僕の全盛期のど真ん中にいる世界が背中を向けでもまだなお立ち向かう君が今もここにいる愛にできることはまだあるかい僕にできることはまだあるかい君がくれた勇気だから君のために誓いたいんだ愛にできることはまだあるか僕にできること
尽くしたあまたの映画で語られ尽くしたそんな荒野に生まれ落ちた僕君それでも愛にできることはまだあるよ僕にできることはまだあるよ
Kawaii-Fi.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
No, you're crying.
No,
That song is
I'm
just
not.
so good. Rue, you outdid yourself, mate.
Very well done.
So that is there
Set a
still
lunge on that
anything that Love Can Do by Radwimps, performed by Rue? Wow, mate. Wow.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much for giving us permission on that one. All right. What were your top 3, not in no particular order, of this season?
You want me to pick 3?
Yeah, I know. It's a challenge.
I gotta say, Astra Lost in Space, that was a nice, concise, and very well finished off story. Dr. Stone, because yes, science! And Vinland Saga, because whoa.
All right, Coco.
It was so hard to pick, and they only won by a very narrow margin.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with Astra Lost in Space,
Oh.
O Maidens in Your Savage Season, and Given.
Yep. Okay. That's a fair call.
Very good.
Oh. Well, Astra Lost his face.
Okay, so that one wins.
That one wins all the
Yep.
things. TT Master Takagi-san Season 2.
Of course.
Despite the troubles in watching it. And I can't pick another one. I love them all. This is a problem.
Yeah, how do you pick your favorite child? I mean, sometimes.
I mean,
you
they
throw one in the oven and keep the other one.
Oh! No, apparently, parents do have a favorite child. They just don't tell you.
Yeah.
So you can
that
tell,
sounds about right.
can't you?
Which
can
one?
tell.
Which one are you not telling us?
Well, I'm not the favourite. Nah, I kid. I'll give Fire Force a good jolt there because I haven't been able to stop watching it. Literally, both it and Dr. Stone, I'm forcing myself not to read the manga because I just want to know what happens.
I
Well,
may not be able to be that strong.
no, it mightn't last long.
No.
We'll see how much
That's
downtime I
fine,
get.
though.
So that's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks so much for joining us. We realise it's a long one. These review ones and the preview ones are always long hits.
Sorry, guys.
But next episode, it is going to be another long haul. It is the autumn and fall season preview, and it's the biggest lineup we've seen this year. It's huge.
Oof. It's just a massive amount of returning animes as well. Big hitters, My Hero Academia, Food Wars, Psycho Pass are coming back, and the second half of Sword Art Online, Alicization.
No, I haven't seen Psycho Pass yet. I'm looking forward to it. But all of those aren't even mentioning the many new animes coming this season. Now, don't forget to head over to our Facebook page for breaking anime news and videos.
Are you going to smash the like button today? Oh, no, I've
Go
done
on.
it for you.
Yes, you have.
Smash the like
Go on,
button.
go on.
Hoisted by your own
Smash
petard.
it.
Subscribe, share us, get us out there. We are fairly new, so we would love any support you could give us. You've been listening to Kawaii-Fi Radio. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with the autumn season and more Kawaii-Fi Quest. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, watch some anime.
Bye.
Smash.